moved a motion here and amended the CDF Act to be based on wards. Allocation 75% equal and 25% being based on wards, which before 75% was equally and 25% was based on poverty index and population. So it is just the same.
Okay.
And even the wards, Mr. Speaker, the creation of wards is based on population.
I don't want to open debate on this. Honorable Rachel Nyamai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would like also to add my voice on this and to say that it is true that the Honorable Chepkonga was not in the House when this matter was debated. And it is important for him to respect that the matter was brought to the floor of the August House and debated. And it has given again to some constituencies. Honorable Speaker, as I speak, I have 300 schools in my constituency. I know the Honorable Chepkonga doesn't have that number. And Honorable Speaker, there are constituencies in this city that have 10 schools, and they are given the same amount of money. So it has brought some fairness. It isn't much that has been added to these constituencies that have more than 6 wards, but it is an addition and it is a gain. And Honorable Speaker, when the Honorable Chepkonga was speaking, he was addressing they. So I do not know why he is trying to divide the honorable members of this House to 2 groups. Honorable Chepkonga, I think, with all due respect to you, Honorable Speaker, I would like to advise that he brings out other parameters that can be used to make it better, instead of bringing a loss to those constituencies that have already gained. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Honorable Speaker.
Bindi, you will be the very last one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to agree and concur with the other members that Honorable Chepkonga was not here when we debated and passed that particular law. And there is a basis, Mr. Speaker, because above what we do here, equity and equality, or semblance of the two, Mr. Speaker, is very important. This House, Mr. Speaker, as Honorable Chepkonga may want to argue, that we should, as national government, allocate money in terms of wards. Wards also, Mr. Speaker, are based on something. They are based on some parameters. And even if we were actually to amend the law as it was exemplified very well by Honorable Sirma, Mr. Speaker, we'll still go to other parameters like locations or sub-locations, because we need some equity, Mr. Speaker. There are some constituencies here, for example, Mwea, in a homogeneous county in Kirinyaga, the neighboring constituency, Mr. Speaker, has got 3 wards. Mwea has got 8 wards. Mr. Speaker, some members here give bursaries to a tune of 10,000 for day schools. Others could actually, Mr. Speaker, only manage a partly 2,000 for day scholars, Mr. Speaker. Whatever side we may want to pull the blanket, Mr. Speaker, we need some semblance of equity, and I think this formula is towards that direction, Mr. Speaker, so that we have some level, Mr. Speaker, playing ground. And also, on the basis of 75% equal and 25% on the basis of wards. Actually, Mr. Speaker, the feeling of many members would actually prefer that we start from 0, Mr. Speaker, not from 75. And at the very best, Mr. Speaker, start on 50-50. 50% on equal, 50% based on other parameters, because we are here to also represent those other parameters.
Clerk, next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, extension of time for consideration of certain petitions.
Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 256A, on extension of period prescribed, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the public petitions reported on November 15, 2022, from the person specified hereunder, seeking the removal of commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, pursuant to the provisions of Article 251 of the Constitution and Standing Order 230, by the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, by a further period of 3 days with effect from 29th November 2022. 1 petition by the Republican Party, 2 petition by Reverend Dennis Ndwiga Nthumbi, 3 petition by Mr. Geoffrey Langat, and 4 petition by Mr. Owor Steve Jerry. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move this procedural motion on behalf of the Chair of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, who is in sitting. The committee is currently sitting, considering some of these petitions, Honorable Speaker, and he has indicated that it may not be practical to have finalized within the timelines that were set of the 14 days, and therefore seeks an extension by a further 3 days to be able to consider these petitions and conclude the matter before they bring a report before the House. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the Honorable Member for Molo, the Honorable Kuria Kimani, to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The committee on the Jailer Committee is listening to the petitions by these various bodies on the removal of the 4 commissioners. And Mr. Speaker, bearing the seriousness of this particular matter and how emotive the issue of elections have been, because, Mr. Speaker, by the end of this hearing, we want to make sure that, 1, we give a fair hearing to the 4 commissioners. We also want to give sufficient time for the witnesses to come and address the committee and bring all the facts on the table. So the issue of these elections stopping our economic development and being a cycle of closing our businesses, closing of our schools can be put to rest for once and for all. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Lord, the honorable members. Order, Sirma. Honorable members, I beg to propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 256A1, extension of period prescribed, this House resolved to extend the period for consideration of the public petitions reported on November 15, 2022 from the persons specified hereunder, seeking the removal of commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, pursuant to the provisions of Article 251 of the Constitution, and Standing Order 230 by the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs by a further 3 days, with effect from 29th November 2022. Petition by the Republican Party, petition by Reverend Dennis Ndwiga Nthumbi, petition by Mr. Geoffrey Langat, and petition by Mr. Owor Steve Jerry. What the question? Yes or no? I've given you the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I knew because of your distinguished experience, you won't deny me a chance to speak on this very critical matter. In any case, putting a question requires the requisite numbers, Honorable Speaker, which I'm sure the members here know we don't have. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I have a very, very big issue with this motion as crafted. Mr. Speaker, I recall very vividly when you referred these 4 petitions to the JLAC in your ultimate paragraph of communication. You did give JLAC an opportunity to come back before this House and seek for extension if the time allocated was not enough. Mr. Speaker, I want to report to you that I have had occasion to attend one of the meetings of this very committee. Mr. Speaker, in that very session, in that very meeting that I attended, what I saw was not really encouraging. Mr. Speaker, a number of these persons who are being asked or being petitioned to go home through their legal representatives asked for ample time to prepare their defenses. The committee, through the chair, vehemently opposed those requests. Vehemently. As if there was some hurry, as if the world was coming to an end, Mr. Speaker. And in your ruling, Mr. Speaker, your communication, you are very clear that this committee was at liberty to ask for extension for however long it takes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I must also go on record that because of this and many other reasons, I am very much in order to continue my contribution, Mr. Speaker. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I didn't intend to mean that the Honorable Pio and I is not in order to be making his point, but he is trending on very dangerous grounds, Honorable Speaker, in my view, because he has gone to the extent of now debating not the procedural motion before us, but matters that are before that committee and discussions in that committee as to the requests that were made by particular parties before the committee. And Honorable Speaker, I want to believe that if and when the committee finishes their work, they will have a report to table before the House, and the Honorable Pio and I will have the opportunity to raise some of those issues. But we cannot now use this procedural motion to now debate how the committee that is currently sitting is transacting business.
Mr. Speaker, you know, I've been in this House for as long as Honorable Ichunga has been. 10 good years and counting. And I know what is relevant and what is not relevant and our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, this procedural motion is all about time. It's all about time allocated to the committee to undertake its work. And I am basically addressing the issue of time. I am not delving into the matters, substantive matters before the committee, Mr. Speaker. And I will not. I will not.
Honorable Wandai.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
You are very experienced. Now, the motion before us is the committee saying give us 3 days.
Correct.
You would either be supporting the 3 days or opposing the 3 days on the basis of inadequacy or the opposite.
I am laying a basis. I'm laying a basis for my eventual take on this request, Mr. Speaker. And if you give me just a few minutes, I will conclude.
You'll get there.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, you know, this is a house of records. This is a serious house that must play by the rules. We can't be seen to be bending rules at every turn, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I wanted to go on record that even as we speak, for this and among other reasons, members of JLAC belonging to the minority coalition, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, have since withdrawn from the proceedings of that committee. That must go on record. It doesn't matter whether, you know, my friend, Honorable, I don't know who it is. Let me not talk about him. Yes. Mr. Speaker, when I attended one of the meetings of this committee, I was reminded, really, of the sad happenings of the 1980s, when there was a special committee of the then ruling party, KANU, the disciplinary committee of KANU, then chaired by the late Okiki Amayo. That was a committee that was convened whenever there was a predetermined objective to achieve. The current JLAC in its current proceedings is reminding us of the KANU disciplinary committee.
Honorable Wandai.
The JLAC has become an Okiki Amayo committee, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Wandai, limit yourself to whether we expand the time or we don't. You are now going into the merits of the conduct of a committee, which is not permissible.
You know, Mr. Speaker,
and I don't want...
with the tremendous possible respect, Mr. Speaker, if I could be allowed to prosecute my matter, as I contribute to this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, my point is this, as I conclude, that this committee should have asked for ample time, because the world is not ending, Mr. Speaker. It should have asked for ample time to enable them give the respondents adequate time to prepare themselves for their defenses, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Wandai.
Honorable Speaker, I think you are well informed to guide the Honorable Pio Wandai, because now he has gone to the extent of disparaging the proceedings before the committee in the pretext that is laying grounds on the question of time sought, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me just also point out, Honorable Speaker, because if you are looking for opportunities to play politics, Honorable Speaker, we could also do the same. But we want to restrict ourselves to the business before us on the procedural motion on extension of time. a person who has already offered information that they have since removed themselves from the activities of this committee, Honorable Speaker, then cannot be standing before this House to oppose time in a process where his coalition is not involved. It is in a process, Honorable Speaker, and Honorable Speaker, if you ask the Honorable TJ Kajwang to relax, because he's a member of that committee who should be seated in that committee, but does not have the guts and the audacity to sit before committee, but you follow your party leader to walk out of committees of the House. If you are elected members of parliament to articulate issues before committees, you articulate those issues before committees and not to follow your party leader in walking out. You can walk out in the streets, you can walk in anywhere, but not in parliament. Parliament
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable Kajwang. Order, honorable Kajwang. Order, honorable Kajwang. Honorable TJ. This is what we can easily take the House to when we bring on the floor parochial politics. Order, honorable Kajwang. Honorable Kajwang, you are a seasoned, not only lawyer, but parliamentarian. And you are precluded from losing your temper. Order, honorable Kajwang. Order, honorable Kajwang. Honorable Kajwang, order. You are precluded from losing your cool. Remain the lawyer that I know. If a lawyer loses his cool, his client will go to jail. Honorable members, this matter is very simple. Do we extend time? We don't extend time. And that will be determined by a vote. That is what is before the House. What is going on before the committee, order, honorable members, the committee report will come to this House. You will have, in fact, as minority leader, privileged time under the standing orders to debate that report. So just limit yourselves, both you are the majority leader, to the issue of time. The committee has come before you to say, give us 3 extra days. It is you to determine whether you give them the days and by a vote, or you don't. It's as simple as that. Let you and I finish first before I put the question.
It is good for members to understand that once I'm given a chance to contribute to a motion, I have to finish my contribution. Or otherwise, time has to elapse before I can stop talking.
Just limit yourself to the issue of time.
Mr. Speaker, this is a house of politics. This house is premised on politics. And therefore, even as I contribute to any particular motion, and I'm happy the chairman has now come, the chairman of JLAC and his fellow members are now in the House. Perhaps Hansard will remind him what I said before he came. That even as I oppose this motion vehemently, we cannot allow this House or a committee of this House to transform itself into the 1980s Okiki Amayo Kanu Disciplinary Committee. That is what I wanted to say. And it must go on record. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's nobody on the floor, so there can't be a point of order. Order, Honorable Kajwang. Order. There is quorum. There is quorum. Honorable Kajwang, nobody's on the floor, so there can't be a point of order. I give you 1 minute. Say
Mr. Speaker.
what you want to say.
Mr. Speaker, I still feel, yes, within the context. Mr. Speaker, I feel a little bad when majority leader, a man whom in other circumstances we are very we are friendly. Yes, we are permanent friends. But look, when he says and imputes improper motive on me, that I should not be sitting where I am, and the members from Ruaraka sent me to sit where I am.
You have every right to sit where you are.
Yes, can you rule him out of order that I have every right to sit in this seat because Ruaraka people have sent me to sit here?
Okay, to that extent, he's out of order. Order, honorable members. Honorable Kajwang, each member here has a right to sit where they're sitting. including yourself, including the majority leader. So when you have jibes against each other in jest, they should not derail our debate. Honorable members, I get the impression that we should put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 256A1, extension period prescribed, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the public petitions reported on November 15th, 2022 from the persons specified hereunder seeking the removal of commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, pursuant to the provisions of Article 251 of the Constitution and Standing Order 230 by the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs by a further period of 3 days with effect from 29th November 2022. Petition by the Republican Party, petition by Reverend Dennis Ndwiga Ndumbi, petition by Mr. Geoffrey Langat, and a petition by Mr. Owor Steve Jerry. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. As members of the contrary opinion say nay. Obviously, the ayes have it. Next order. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, sessional paper number 1 of 2022 on the National Automotive Policy. Question to be put.
Order, honorable members. Which one, clerk? Members, order, Honorable Kajwang, order. Even in our courts, when the judge stands, the lawyers take their seats. No, but TJ was talking to a man who is not a lawyer, so he's unlikely to understand that. Honorable members, we will now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopt sessional paper number 1 of 2022 on the National Automotive Policy, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, resolution to hold a Thursday morning sitting.
Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 33B, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Thursday, December 1st, 2022, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business ahead of the December recess. Honorable Speaker, again, this is just a motion to have a sitting. Members are aware that we usually don't have sittings on Thursday, but considering that Thursday, in line with our calendar, is the last day of sitting, for this session, Honorable Speaker, and bearing in mind that you have just given us a communication on the lifting of the vetting of PSs, Honorable Speaker, we envisage that we should be able to finish some of that priority business to approve PSs, hopefully by Thursday morning, to have the reportable on Thursday, and therefore want to ask members that we do support to have this sitting on Thursday, so that we are able to conclude all business before us by Thursday, end of close of business on Thursday. And members, you remember there are about 51 PSAs, so it may take a long time to approve all those names. Already about 22 committees have finished their reports and are ready for tabling, so that process may take quite a bit of time, and the afternoon session may not be enough. With that, I want to ask the Honorable Joses to second.
Yes, member for Mgwen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On that issue, because it's of importance to the nation, I second.
There being no interest in debating this. Oh, sorry, members. I propose the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 33B, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Thursday, December 1, 2022, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business ahead of the December recess. I'll give Mandy and one other, then we put the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, we would not have a problem with procedural motions like this. We would support extra sittings. But, Mr. Speaker, when you call for an extra sitting, the leader of majority should give us the business that should be transacted on that particular sitting. And, Mr. Speaker, what I've heard from the majority leader is an anticipatory motion, something that has not even been concluded by committees, Mr. Speaker. How sure are we that committees are going to conclude the vetting of PSS to be able to agree on a sitting on Thursday morning? We have previously held special sittings. So, Mr. Speaker, for us not to appear like a house that rubber stamps what the executive has sent, let us give the committees time to finish their work, and if majority leader feels that we are pressed of time, there can be a special sitting. These members are ready to come. In fact, we have held meetings here before, Mr. Speaker, on days that I would call ungodly. 24th of December, Mr. Speaker. 18th of December 2014, we were called back here to hold a special sitting to approve security laws amendment bill. And, Mr. Speaker, that is not a day you can forget. It was a very bad day, Mr. Speaker.
Indeed, that's the day you assaulted me.
Yes. That's the day I actually saved you, Mr. Speaker, from being assaulted. Actually, I came to Speaker's rescue when he was being assaulted.
You saved me from being
I
assaulted.
actually literally saved the Speaker from being thrown
Kuna.
down. Today, we would not be having our Speaker here.
Yes.
And, Mr. You are not informing me. Everything you are saying, I know. Actually, even the amendments to the Political Parties Act, the elections laws, we did in December, and godly days. So we can still come back here, Mr. Speaker, and approve PSS. We know this country needs to move forward. We need to have PSS in office as the accounting officers, new ones. What is this out of order? You know, Imani Sugar, you just want to...
Yes.
You know, Honorable Speaker, we must be careful the words we use, because the Honorable body has thrice used the word ungodly days. And I don't know what days are ungodly, but Honorable Speaker, maybe also just to mention that it is precisely the reason why we want this godly day of Thursday morning to have a sitting. So to avoid the temptation of using the ungodly days as you describe them, but maybe just for information to the members of the public, there is no day that is ungodly.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, my usage of the word is very deliberate. There are still many what I consider godly days beyond Thursday, which you can still use. But the ungodly days, when you interfere with the work of God, you are behaving ungodly. I know you are not a very good Christian, so I'm trying to educate you. When anything you do that is not furthering the interest of being a Christian is ungodly. So if you are coming here just a few hours before Jesus is born and you are forcing people to work, you are behaving ungodly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to oppose this motion.
Honorable Kajwang. Honorable Kajwang. TJ.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, this kind of motions should not receive a lot of loud opposition. But the point I think we are pursuing here is that this is a house of record and procedure and decorum. A question of disclosure is very important to members so that we debate from a point of knowledge and from the point that no member moving a motion will keep certain material facts away from members who would wish to vote one way or the other in a motion before them. The Speaker, serving here, I think you are the octogenarian of this House. I'm sure you are serving your 6th term. so to speak. And you are a veteran in these matters. Going back to your legal practice, again, you are the octogenarian. I see a lot of lawyers in the House, but you are the senior most lawyer, as I know, in this House. I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, you would wish that your legacy is remembered that you did business which conformed to the law of the House and the Constitution. A matter such as this is very noble, but it is important that the majority leader who has moved this motion discloses the kind of motions instead of anticipating debate. Again, something which goes against the standing orders. I listened to the member who seconded the motion. All he said was that because this is a very important issue, it should be supported. I think this is also the learning curve that some of distinguished members who are coming for the first time would wish to know what are some of the ingredients of what a member would propose. You know, this issue of point of orders nowadays, I don't understand. Everything is point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know,
even when nothing is out of order.
You know, the Honorable TJ Kajwang is my very good friend. And he knows I have a lot of respect for him. So he should not get angry with me for rising on a point of order. Just to let you know, Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the Honorable TJ Kajwang to have missed the House Business Committee in which we discussed some of these issues? If in fact, if he was in the House Business Committee, he would have known the urgent matters that are likely to come on that Thursday morning. In fact, he would not be belaboring this point. In fact, Mr. Speaker, he would have supported it. In fact, I can see he's belaboring this point under some, I don't want to say delusion, Mr. Speaker, under some strange lack of information. And I just want to appeal to him that we discuss, you know, of course, when I sit there on the TJ Kajwang, you know, and we were good members of the JLAC. And you know, we don't intend to mislead you in any way. We actually have serious business on Thursday. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, my learned friend, I long for the days we served in JLAC. Unfortunately, this is not what I am seeing happening. But he knows very well that I am quite in order, that those are committees. House business is just a committee, like a members committee. And the fact that a member did not attend a meeting does not preclude one from making the remarks in this House. Mr. Speaker, my point has been made, really.
Yes,
my point is this, that could the member, we want to vote, and we want to support this. Is it possible that the member would be given more time, the majority leader, to inform the House of details of this information so that we vote by conscience, we vote by information? I think that, Mr. Speaker, you would wish that when we read the Hansard, you would have presided over a House that keeps law and procedure. Thank you.
I see no further interest. Let me put the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 33B, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Thursday, December 1, 2022, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business ahead of the December recess. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. As members of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order. Next order.
Order number 11, the County Government's Additional Allocations Number 2 Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2022-2023 financial year, the responsibilities of national government and county governments pursuant to such allocation and for connected purposes. Order number 12, motion, consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022.
Chair delegated.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 29, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24, subsection 4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulation 2022, published as legal notice number 213 of 23rd November 2022. Madam, oh, there has been a change of chairs. So, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, this is a very important regulation, as you may be aware, that this government made a deliberate pronouncement that it intends to support those at the bottom of the pyramid, Madam Speaker, the so-called the bottom-up, those who are called the hustlers. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, you know, the word hustler has not been properly interpreted or given translation in the English dictionary. So what these financial regulations have used is inclusiveness. And the objectives of these regulations, Madam Speaker, is to ensure innovation, development, and deployment of the bottom of the pyramid financial services and products that are affordable, accessible, and appropriate for the unserved and underserved persons, Madam Speaker. This would be done through credits, savings, insurance, and investment products that will promote inclusion through expanding access to credit by persons in the medium and small enterprises, Madam Speaker, and also to promote market intervention to improve supply of affordable credit to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, including credit worthiness-based lending and risk pricing, business and financial management skills, and cost of doing business. Madam Speaker, the committee had the occasion to have a sitting with the Minister for Cooperatives and Medium and Small Enterprises on Thursday, when we participated in considering the draft regulations that had been forwarded to Parliament. Madam Speaker, this was a very comprehensive process in which we were taken through the process in which these particular regulations were developed. The regulations were developed through public participation, in which the ministries of Finance and Ministry of Cooperatives conducted public participation right across this country. And it brought together persons in government, persons in the MSMEs. It brought together the governors, the CECs in the county governments, government officials at national and county level. It brought together borders, housing, dairy, cotton, and handicraft, coffee, matatu transporters, SACCOs, cooperatives, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, officials from the marketing management committees and county trade staff, community-based organization, the so-called CBOs, civil society, and faith-based organization. All the key stakeholders, Madam Speaker, were consulted through physical meetings and submission of memoranda in compliance with the Statutory Instruments Act of 2021. Madam Speaker, as a result of those consultations that we held in considering the draft regulations that were forwarded to the committee, we made very serious amendments to those regulations that included, Madam Speaker, the process of removal of those officials that have been that will be appointed pursuant to this regulation. The other one, Madam Speaker, that we asked them to include were the products that they intend to roll out with regard to these regulations. They had told us that products are not included because they wanted to maintain some flexibility. We told them that according to the Statutory Instruments Act, it has to be clear, it should not require a lot of elucidation, and so we told them that those products must all be provided in the regulations. And we're happy to note, Madam Speaker, that all the comments that were made by the committee members at the meeting that was held on the 24th of November at Hilton Hotel in Machakos were all considered, Madam Speaker. And as a result of that, these regulations were published on Monday, yesterday, and forwarded to this committee, forwarded to the Committee on Delegation, Madam Speaker. We considered these regulations today, went through, checked whether those amendments were made, and we are satisfied that the amendments were carried and they were all included in the regulations, and it complies with the Statutory Instruments Act of 2013 and also the Public Finance Management Act of 2015, as well as the Constitution. Madam Speaker, the authority to make this regulation is granted pursuant to the Public Finance Management Act of 2013 that stipulates that the minister shall make regulations to provide for good financial management of anything that exceeds 10 million shillings that is provided as a regulation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have had so many things that have been said about the ASLA fund. It has been said that it's going to attract a single-digit interest. It is true, Madam Speaker, and we were informed that the reason why it is a single-digit is to ensure that we provide for administrative costs for those people who will be managing the funds that will be allocated to this particular fund, Madam Speaker. And we were told that, and which we agree, that if we do not provide for interest to be charged on what is going to be lent, it's a small amount, Madam Speaker, it's about 8%, that will be shared between all the actors who will be managing this fund. And we have very many banks who will be participating in giving out these monies, and it is just purely to cover their cost of providing this service, and also to pay for employees who will be employed by the fund. We were informed, Madam Speaker, that if we don't provide so, it means that the cost will eat into the capital, and it will therefore reduce the amount of the money that has been allocated into this fund. And what that means, Madam Speaker, is that it will then reduce the capital, and over time, it may even disappear because of the cost overrun in that particular fund. And also, the money will not be available for other Kenyans to borrow. The intention is to safeguard the funds that have been allocated to these funds to ensure that other Kenyans who have not borrowed, and those Kenyans who have borrowed, they refund the money, and others are able to benefit, Madam Speaker. And so, the regulations are fairly straightforward. It is beneficial to our members in our constituency, and many Kenyans are looking forward to borrowing this money, particularly the Mamambogas, the borders that are in Honorable Junet's constituency, who are borrowing from 500 shillings to 50,000 shillings. This will be the first phase. The second phase, Madam Speaker, we are informed of to roll out the second phase of between 250,000 and 250,000 will be done in the month of February, and the new regulations would be brought to cover that particular fund. So this is intended to give the lower stratum of the society, the so-called bottom-up, Madam Speaker. These are people who are buying vegetables from the market, they go and sell, instead of borrowing money, which they do at the moment, where they borrow 100 shillings or 1,000 shillings, and at the end of the day, they must pay back with 100 shillings. So what that means, Madam Speaker, is that they are paying 100% interest on the money that they are borrowed of 1,000. And so this fund, it is 8% interest over a period of 1 year. So if you divide by 365, it will be 0.001. That will be the cost. That will be the cost. In fact, Honorable Junet is very happy that that is going to be the cost of running that fund. And so, Madam Speaker, I'd like to assure you that, and assure this House, that the regulations are very consistent with the Substantive Act, the Constitution, and on behalf of the members of the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation and pursuant to Standing Order 210-4B, it is my pleasure and duty to present to the House the committee's report on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulation 2022 with legal notice number 213 of 2022. I therefore move, Madam Speaker, and I would like to request the Majority Leader, without being interfered by the Honorable Kamket, who should come and sit next to me, I can continue the discussion from there. The Honorable Speaker, I would like to call upon the Majority Leader to second.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I rise to second these regulations, Honorable Speaker, and take this opportunity to thank the committee under the able leadership of the Honorable Chepkonga on the consideration of these regulations, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we are seeking approval of these regulations, Honorable Speaker, to address one of the issues that, Honorable Speaker, have made our economy almost grind to a halt: access to credit. And, Honorable Speaker, these regulations are not just talking about access to credit, but they are speaking to inclusion of segments of our population and our economy who are left out of the credit system in this country, Honorable Speaker, and especially the unwaged population, Honorable Speaker, who cannot access credit. And those are the people the chair has referred to, the mamambogas, the border borders, kiosk owners, and all manner of entrepreneurs, including, Honorable Speaker, people who are jobless, people who organize themselves in chamas and merry-go-rounds, Honorable Speaker, and basically have no access to any manner of formal credit. And the only credit that you could access to, Honorable Speaker, is when you either Fuliza or M-Shwari on your phone and pay very exorbitant interest rates, Honorable Speaker. And it is indeed true, Honorable Speaker, that looking at the regulations provide for an interest. And it is important, Honorable Speaker, because a lot of naysayers have spoken to the issue of interest. And, Honorable Speaker, many of the people who have spoken to the question of interest are people who never interrogated or engaged with the Kenya Kwanza team as the Kenya Kwanza team engaged with Kenyans across the country. In almost all the 47 counties, I think it's only 3 counties that we are not able to physically attend economic forum meetings where we engage with mamambogas, we engage with people who are not able to access credit. And you could listen to harrowing stories of how people are accessing credit from Shylocks, from the mobile money transfer companies that were offering credit at very exorbitant rates, Honorable Speaker. And people will tell you, Honorable Speaker, that they're accessing credit that they are paying up to 3,000% per annum. And because of desperation, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans had no choice but to access that expensive credit, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, this Financial Inclusion Fund, Honorable Speaker, comes to address some of those issues that Kenyans spoke to us as we sought their votes last time. And I was saying, Honorable Speaker, many of the naysayers never even bothered to read the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. And you will hear many of them loudly say that they promised no interest. They promised a hustler fund. This is a hustler fund. This Financial Inclusion Fund is the hustler fund. When we said access to affordable credit, it never meant no interest or no management fee. And therefore, I want to speak to the naysayers, because I know some of them could also be listening to me. Some of them could also be in this house, Honorable Speaker, to tell them to please
Honorable Millie,
just take their time.
Heard in silence.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for protecting me from the Honorable Millie. I know she may not have read the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. And maybe when I say some of the naysayers could be seated here and listening to me, maybe I was right. And I want to invite them to interrogate and to read our Kenya Kwanza manifesto and see that indeed we spoke to the issue of access to credit and affordable credit. And that affordable credit is what now is being offered to the people of Kenya through this Financial Inclusion Fund. At an interest rate, Honorable Speaker, if you look at Regulation 22, it provides for a rate of interest or administrative fee that is payable by a maximum rate of 8% per annum. It is 8% per year. You borrow 100,000 shillings, you only pay 8,000 shillings for the year. So, Honorable Junet, if your calculator is near you, you can calculate how much that is, because I had you doubt when the chair spoke of 0.000 something per day. But Kenyans have been paying not an interest rate of 8% per annum, they have been paying an interest rate of 10% per day, and they have been accessing credit at that rate. We are therefore giving an opportunity to residents of Suna East, residents of Suba North and Suba South, residents of Kikuyu, residents of Emuhaya, and all Kenyans, including Tiati, who are very good people rearing livestock, to be able to access credit at a very affordable rate, Honorable Speaker, and more so even to give our financial institutions, many of our financial institutions that are not formal, Honorable Speaker, like the merry-go-rounds, the chamas, Honorable Speaker, are getting an opportunity now to, in a very formal way, get included in a financial fund that will allow them have access to funds that they can then on-lend, including our circles, Honorable Speaker, on-lend to members of the public and be able to take our economy, as we said, from the bottom up. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, these regulations, as the chair has pointed out, have been taken through public participation. I must commend the National Treasury. For once, the National Treasury did go out of their way, other than doing the normal public participation they do at KICC. This time around, they took these regulations to many of our counties and listened to people. And I must take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to commend the National Treasury for having appreciated the role that public plays in engaging with them, because it is out of the engagement with the members of the public and institutions that they are able to polish up some of these regulations and even do better than had envisaged, Honorable Speaker, as they formulated these policies. Honorable Speaker, the regulations also provide for a matching concept, Honorable Speaker, to this fund, that a financial institution like a bank that could have funds, or probably even a non-government organization that, because there are NGOs that advance credit, and if you have funds that you can match to this fund, you get part of this fund and match. But there is a right, Honorable Speaker, that the interest that you charge must be lower than that is being offered by the fund. And that, Honorable Speaker, gives an opportunity for people to be able to access credit at even cheaper rates. And I'm glad, Honorable Speaker, because a number of our development partners have expressed interest to also provide funds to supplement what government will be able to do and what other donors will give to ensure that we financially include all our people. Honorable Speaker, part of the reason why our economy is where it is today is because people have no access to credit, and when they access credit, it is very expensive credit that then makes their businesses make no sense, and within a very short time, businesses collapse. Honorable Speaker, let me speak to the Hustler Nation and tell them that the Hustler Fund that we have been waiting for is here. Honorable Speaker, upon approval of these regulations, Honorable Speaker, we also encourage Kenyans through this fund. The fund is not just about advancing credit. The fund has components that includes loans, it includes pension, retirement benefits for the people who are involved in this scheme. It has a health insurance benefit, and also a savings element, Honorable Speaker, that at least out of the amount of money that you get, 95% could go to your loan, but at least 5% of the money you get goes into your savings. And Honorable Speaker, I think even when His Excellency the President opened this session of Parliament, during the state opening of Parliament, he did in a great way speak to the issue of developing a culture of savings. And I must commend the National Treasury, since as they formulated these regulations, they have incorporated the element of savings. Because, Honorable Speaker, we cannot invest unless we save. If we live with a country where people just borrow without saving, it means perpetually they will be borrowing. But where people borrow and save, Honorable Speaker, it is said in economics, Honorable Speaker, and those of us who are students of economics, that indeed investments are a function of savings. And a nation that is saving, a nation that is increasing its savings, is a nation that is moving in the right direction. Therefore, we are not just moving this nation in the right direction and ensuring that people are saving for investments in future, and even for national investments, Honorable Speaker. We are also encouraging Kenyans to get access to cheap and affordable credit. We are also encouraging Kenyans to save for their future use in terms of retirement benefits and pension schemes, Honorable Speaker, besides health insurance benefits that will come with this fund, Honorable Speaker, as part of the products that come with this fund. Therefore, it's not just a fund that is as simple as many naysayers again would want to speak to, that this was just a fund for hustlers. This is a fund for financial inclusion of all Kenyans. Whether you regard yourself as a hustler, whether you regard yourself as anything else other than a hustler, Honorable Speaker, this is a fund that speaks to you, because it speaks to your savings, it speaks to your retirement benefits, it speaks to health cover benefits, Honorable Speaker, and also access to credit, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the magic or the silver lining and the magic card that we need to uplift our economy from where it was left by the last regime, Honorable Speaker, is to actualize this hustler fund to be able to give money to people who are entrepreneurs, people who will be able to, in future, Honorable Speaker, and very soon, become taxpayers, expand our tax bracket, Honorable Speaker, and be able to do what the Honorable Kibaki taught us, to jitegemea, when he said that kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. Honorable Speaker, the surest way to end the cycle of borrowing by government is to ensure that we make sure that all our people have access to funds that are affordable to them, funds that they can borrow, utilize for business, make profits, and pay taxes out of those profits. And those taxes then will be able to offer the same services, goods and services that we envisage to get from our government, Honorable Speaker. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second this motion and ask members to support the passage of these regulations, because they are indeed critical for our economy and the financial inclusion of those who have been excluded in the past. There are those, Honorable Speaker, who believed that financial inclusion should only be for those with means. It is our contention, Honorable Speaker, that everybody has the capacity to model himself or herself into an entrepreneur, including not just mama mbogas, even our house managers at home, our mothers, our sisters, who, and even some fathers and brothers who are unemployed, but they come together in chamas and merry-go-rounds in our constituencies. They are fishermen who fish and market their fish collectively by the shores of lakes and rivers where they are fishing, and they form simple chamas and lend each other money, Honorable Speaker, and we are telling them that now they have an opportunity to be included in a formal fund where they will be able to access formal credit, and in a manner that they will not be asked for a logbook, a title deed, or any manner of security. Very soon, Honorable Speaker, we'll be graduating many of our young entrepreneurs and young hustlers into seasoned entrepreneurs who can then access even large amounts of money in the banking sector. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to second.
Very well. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 29, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24(4) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management Financial Inclusion Fund Regulations 2022, published as legal notice number 213 of 23rd November 2022. Honorable members, there is a lot of interest in this, and I will give the first opportunity to the Minority Whip, the Honorable Junet Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to these regulations, the approval of this. Honorable Speaker, first I stand to oppose the approval of these regulations. Madam Speaker, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Madam Speaker, in 2013, we were in this parliament when the Jubilee regime came to power. And they brought here a fund called Uwezo Fund, Madam Speaker. And we passed the regulations here. Madam Speaker, if you go to the website of that Uwezo Fund, it even uses the words of bottom-up fund. It is fund meant for bottom-up purposes. Madam Speaker, that fund was taken to the constituencies. And that fund was interest-free. Kenyans were supposed to start their businesses using that Uwezo Fund. And they were told, just repay the principal amount. There is no loan, there is no interest that you will pay on top of it. Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, 8 billion shillings was appropriated. I don't know how much. I'm told less than 4 million shillings have been returned back, have been repaid back. Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, if Kenyans are unable to pay back monies that they have been given to do business, and they could not return it back because of interest, how will, with 8% interest? Madam Speaker, let's be honest to each other. What this Kenya Kwanza regime is doing, they are just creating another Fuliza, government Fuliza fund. The same Fuliza that Kenyans have suffered under. You will see very soon that Kenyans will receive money in their telephones, 20,000, 30,000 from Hustler Fund. You will see Kenyans now changing again phones because of government Fuliza now. Before it was bank Fuliza, now it's government Fuliza now, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, how can we allow this to happen? Secondly, with the rate of inflation that you are seeing in this country today, almost double digit, with the economic crisis in the world, Madam Honorable Speaker, and you are talking here about financial inclusion, then you are saying the highest amount somebody can borrow from the Hustler Fund is 50,000 shillings. Madam Speaker, what business can you do with 50,000 today? One crate of Mama Mboga's, this thing is called what? Tomatoes, is almost over 10,000 shillings, Madam Speaker. Border people, Madam Speaker, give me time to, so they have their say, Madam Speaker. I know they are very light skin for criticism. But I want to tell them, this fraud called Hustler, we shall not allow it on Parliament, Madam Speaker. This Hustler fraud, this is not Hustler Fund, this Hustler fraud.
Honorable Junet, I'll give you a chance to complete your debate, okay. But I would like to give a chance to the chair. No, your time is not over. The Honorable Chair for Delegated Legislation, what is out of order?
Yeah, is it in order, Madam? I rise pursuant to Standing Order 1, and in particular the one that deals with accuracy of information. Madam Speaker, is it in order for the Honorable Junet to allege that these regulations are fraudulent when he knows that the regulations have been made consistent with the Public Finance Management Act and the Constitution itself? So, and these are laws that have been passed in this House, Madam Speaker. When you claim that it is fraud to give money which is so much. I was in my constituency over the weekend, Madam Speaker, and I met a lady. I had gone for a funeral fundraising. And I met a lady who told me, our M-Pesa
Without
float,
going to the
our
explanation,
M-Pesa float
just
is
tell me
50,000.
what is out
and
of
that she
order,
was
Honorable
making
Chepkonga. The Honorable Junet, you may proceed with debate.
Honorable Speaker, the chair, whom I respect so much, had his time for moving his motion on the regulations. So he just feeling he wants to have another bite because of the issues I'm raising. Unfortunately, you have just finished your time. So, Chair, and the majority
Honorable
leader...
Junet, just proceed, because
Madam Chair,
that was just a point of argument. So please proceed.
Chair, the issue I'm raising is that we are discussing here issues of financial inclusion, Madam Chair. This fund that is being proposed through this regulation, Madam Chair, cannot...
What is out of order, Honorable?
Cannot have financial... cannot do even an...
I will disturb you again, Honorable Junet, because I have a point of order from the Leader of Majority. What is out of
Thank
order?
you, Honorable Speaker, and I also rise on Standing Order 81, because Honorable Chair, the Honorable Junet seems irritated on interruptions, but I want to encourage him, if he not to invite interruptions, Honorable Speaker, because on statement of fact, the regulations, Honorable Speaker, that we are debating, the Honorable Junet just got a copy of the committee's report from the desk here. And I am certain he might not have read, because had he read, I would really prevail on him to point out to the country, because you are addressing the country. When you say that this fund is limited to a maximum of 50,000 shillings, which is not factual and is not true. And Honorable Speaker, now, Honorable Speaker, you can hear what the Honorable Junet is saying. He is alluding to people. We are discussing what is before the House, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, there is nothing in the regulations that limit this financial inclusion fund to 50,000 shillings. And Honorable Speaker, the product, when launched, Kenyans should be patient, and the Honorable Junet should also be patient enough to wait for all the products to be launched, Honorable Speaker, because you'll be able to borrow from as little as you can up to the maximum you're able to repay.
Honorable Majority Leader, you've made your point. But I would like to say that you made reference to Standing Order number 81, and I would like to read it for record. No member shall speak to any question after the same has been put by the Speaker. So I think you made a mistake on the Standing Order, and for that reason, the Honorable Junet proceeds, and I'm not going to interrupt you again.
Madam Honorable Speaker.
I believe that you are misled by the Honorable Chepkonga.
Honorable Speaker. No,
the Honorable Junet proceeds with the debate.
The ones who are disrupting.
You proceed with debate, and you are not going to be disturbed.
Madam Chair,
just proceed.
Honorable Chair, it is for a fact, and it's the public domain, that none other than the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, said that this fund maximum is 50,000 shillings. He's on record. And he said much of this money will go to women, not even men. But anyway, Madam Speaker, the question I'm asking is, if you were to help, for example, the border people in this country, one border today is costing 120,000 shillings in the shops that sell borders. And you want to give a border guy 50,000 shillings only. Where is he going to get the border from? How are you going to remove him from the poverty that you said you will remove him from? Because if he's paying the 50,000 you are giving him, with interest, and he has a loan there, and then he has to look for another 70,000 shillings to buy the border, and then he has to borrow also 70,000 from somewhere and pay with it interest. This is making lives of the hustlers even more difficult than the way they found it, Madam Speaker, before elections. Madam Speaker, we have so many funds in this country. We have the Youth Fund, we have the Women Fund, we have the Gov Fund, we have CDF Fund, we have Uwezo Fund. What is the point of creating a fund just in the name of your campaign slogan, in the name of hustle, when you know very well that the Youth Fund is there to help the youth, the Uwezo Fund is there to help business people, the Women Fund is there. Why don't you strengthen those funds? Why can't you put more money in those funds and make them interest-free, Madam Speaker? Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the minority, we will not accept Kenyans to be hoodwinked We will not accept Kenyans to be lied to. I want to tell Kenyans from the floor of this house that that fund is not going to change their lives. I can guarantee you, because how can you get a loan with interest of 8%, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, and you are a hustler? Will you be paying the interest or will you be paying the principal? They were told during the campaigns that we are going to put 50 billion shillings in the budget that is going to help, going to change their lives, and they're going to be given for free. It's on record, Madam Speaker. That is the money that the hustlers were expecting. That is the money that the hustlers were waiting for until things changed. Madam Speaker, this is a classical example of how politicians lie to Kenyans. They tell you all manner of things. Me, the only money that I was sure that will not be Kenyans will not be lied to is the 6,000 shillings Baba promised to every Kenyan. That one I was sure, because 6,000 is affordable. Every family will have gotten their 6,000. But this one, Madam Speaker, of telling you that we are going to give you money to do business, to change your life, to make things better for you, and then you turn around and you say, no, it's a loan. You must pay back with interest of 8%. There are cooperative societies that are lending at 8% in this country today, even lower than that. Why should I go to Hustler Fund? And then they said there are penalties. If you default in paying this loan, there are penalties, there are punishments, your things will be sold, your sofrias will be collected from your house, your mattresses will be auctioned, your beds will be auctioned, Madam Speaker. Do you want to put Kenyans in that kind of situation, Madam Speaker? That's what loan means. If you default in a loan, that means everything you own will be auctioned, Madam Speaker. It's a fact. Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, why do you want to auction Kenyans, Madam Speaker? Why don't you give Kenyans even a loan, a fund that has an interest of even 1% if you're serious about helping Kenyans? Why can't you make the interest 1% if you want to change the lives of Kenyans, Madam Speaker? Why 8%? In the first place, Kenyans were expecting free money. They were expecting monies that they can be used, that they can be given so that they can improve their lives. But now we have decided to say it's money that's supposed to be repaid with interest. Why can't you reduce the interest to 1% then if you're serious about helping Kenyans? Madam Speaker, this one is one of the things that is going to finish Kenya Kwanza before even 2027. This is one of the biggest fraud that is happening in our country, Madam Speaker. This is a hustler fraud now. This is not hustler fund. The name is hustler fraud. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I oppose the regulations, and Kenyans must be told the truth before they vote for you. This is the biggest con game that has ever happened after the election.
Honorable members, we proceed. I'll have one person from the left and one from the right. And now we have a chance for the Honorable Ruku, who is a member from Mbeere North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is important to notify you, Madam Speaker, that I'm a member of the Delegated Committee, Registration Committee, and these regulations, I'm a member of the Delegated Registration Committee of this House. And these regulations, Madam Speaker, were brought to this to our committee by the relevant government department or the ministry, and we discussed and interrogated this regulation in a very serious manner. And Madam Speaker, if there is something which has been designed to take care of the bottom of the pyramid, if you look at the USO fund, if you look at youth fund and other funds available targeted by the government, are formed in a very elitist manner. It is only these regulations which are considering, and the visibility studies were done, Madam Speaker.
What is out of order, the Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Nabakolo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 83. Just to ask maybe to find out, is the member in order? I seek that he takes his position. Is the member in order, Honorable Speaker, to refer to a committee called Committee on Delegated Registration, which when I check in the order book, I've not been able to find out in which is the establishing standing order. Am I in order, Honorable Speaker, that informs me if it exists in this House, Honorable Speaker?
will give some leeway to the new members of parliament. I believe that the Honorable Ruku meant delegated legislation. So you may proceed, Honorable Ruku.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your defense. I was saying, Madam Speaker, that the only fund which is not elitist is this fund we are trying to table on this House to be considered. Why am I saying this, Madam Speaker? The feasibility studies which have been conducted before proposed regulations outline clearly that over 5 million Kenyans are the one who every single day they seek between 500 shilling to 50,000. What Honorable Junet is talking about, members of people in our villages, in our different constituencies, who want to get loan for more than 50,000 Kenyan shilling, those are not within the category of the bottom of the pyramid. This category, which is about five or more million Kenyans, have been found themselves in very shaky, very intertwined manner in Shyrock and in other loans which they cannot be able to repay. And this fund, Madam Speaker, is coming to save, to take care of these people who their problem is 500 bob, is 1,000 Kenyan shilling, is 200, is 2,000, up to 50,000 Kenyan shilling. The management of the fund, Madam Speaker, if you look at the regulation, it is well classified, it is well detailed, that you have a CEO who will run the fund on a day-to-day basis, with a board of management, or the board of governors, or the board of trustees, who will be taking care of the management of the fund. And it is well stated in the regulation how these members of the board will be nominated and how they are supposed to manage this fund. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we can, as a committee, we can state and we can assure Kenyans that their money will not be lost, because there is even an aspect of saving, Madam Speaker. For every shilling you borrow and you save, the government of Kenya will earn 2 more shillings. That says, Madam Speaker, that it will come a point when you not need to borrow more money for you to conduct your business. And it is stated in the regulation. Honorable Angwe need to go through the regulations slowly, and you'll be able to see the regulation. So, Madam Speaker, I support these regulations. I support these regulations for the ASRAS fund.
What is out of order, Honorable Junet?
Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of order that, is it in order to insinuate that for every shilling you borrow from Hustler Fund, on an interest of 8%, that the government will contribute to your savings 2 shillings? Madam Chair, when the government itself is lending you at 8%, they're not giving you free money. Why can they give you then free money if they are able to give you 2 shillings for you to save? Madam Speaker, these are the kind of lies that we don't want to be allowed in this country.
You made your point, but I would like to ask the Honorable Ruku, is that truthful? Now, I have given a point of order to the Honorable Junet, and he has raised an issue about truthfulness within the regulation. And I would like to ask whether the Honorable Ruku, would you like to withdraw, or it is in the regulation?
Madam Speaker, if you borrow 500 shilling, there is a percentage which you receive. Out of that percentage you receive, the government will earn 2 shilling. If it is 1 shilling, you have saved. That is factual, Madam Speaker.
Proceed with your debate.
Therefore, what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, is that we don't have any other fund in the Republic of Kenya which has such element as envisaged by these regulations. And these regulations are here so that we can have a fund which is taking care of the bottom of the pyramid, which is taking care of the hustlers in a manner that has not been done in the past. And that is why, Madam Speaker, we are confident that the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, in coming up with these regulation, it is for the interest of the very poor in our constituencies across this country. Madam Speaker, I support these regulations.
Very well, member for Mbeere North. Mbeere North. The next opportunity, honorable members, goes to the member for Mwingi Central, the Honorable Gideon Muliungi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to oppose vehemently these regulations on the following basis. Number one, when Kenya Kwanza was moving around traversing the country during the campaign period, they promised Kenyans many things, amongst them the Hustler Fund. And they promised these things to be delivered within the first 100 days, most of them. And the Hustler Fund, even if you took clips during the campaign trail, was to be interest-free. And Madam Speaker, you know Kenya Kwanza got used to moving around and dishing out money to hustlers. And the expectations after elections was that the same money that was being dished out during the campaign period will continue to be dished out, and even much more, from government after the elections. But now the hustlers have turned around. They have changed their mind. They have discovered that what they promised is not practical. And they are now putting interest on the money that they promised to give hustlers for free. Madam Speaker, there are many other things apart from this Hustler Fund which they promised. They promised food security. We know people out there are dying of hunger. Especially in my constituency, I've lost 4 people out of hunger. And that food, the only food that I received in my constituency was 450 kilogram banks of rice for a population of over 500 persons, which is a drop in the ocean. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I therefore think that Kenyans are being taken for a ride by the Kenya Kwanza government by these regulations which have been tabled here. Because as my leader here, the minority leaders, said very clearly that there are so many funds out there which have been devolved by the previous administrations. Kibaki himself introduced a Weso Fund, which was interest-free. And even to date, although somebody has said from the other side that the fund has collapsed, it is still there. It is, oh yes, Uhuru Kenyatta introduced that. And of course, President Kibaki introduced CNDF. All these funds are there. Jubilee also came and introduced GAF. It is there. And it is free. It's free money. Women here, women reps here, county women reps, they give this money, they buy things for women and the youth for free. They don't pay back. They buy umbrellas. They buy border borders. For free, they don't pay back. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I think we are being taken for a ride because Kenya Kwanza have now come to reality. They have seen the reality of the economy of Kenya, and they have discovered that what they promised is completely not practical. And therefore, they are introducing these regulations with interest so that they can collect money and from hustlers. In my view, what I think these people should be doing is continuing giving money the way they were giving during the campaigns. Give Mama Mboga their money, give Boda Boda their money the way they were giving, continue giving it, and not refundable, because Mama Mboga, how does she refund money? Mama Mboga, Nimban, they put their ware beside the road. They don't even have a shop. So where they don't even have a bank account. So how will you pay? How will you pay back? They live hand to mouth. Whatever they collect that day, they go and buy food for their children. The balance, they pay school fees. The rest, they come to us. We give them CDF bursaries. Therefore, they should continue doing that. And in my view, instead of wasting time tabling regulations here, putting people at risk, because when you put a law in Parliament, it's like you are now giving notice that you are going to arrest these people, because this will become law. So I'm passing a message to the hustlers down there that you will go to jail if you receive this money, because you will not pay. You will not be able to pay. And therefore, be careful. Be warned in advance. Be warned in advance. Don't take this money. And therefore, Madam Speaker, what I expect Kenya Kwanza to be doing is to reduce taxation. Reduce tax from 16% to 10% if you care about the hustlers. Remove tax on motorcycles.
The Honorable Mulungi, I have a point of order from the Honorable Miruka Afa, member for Bomachage.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
What is out of order, Honorable Member?
Is the member in order to mislead the Kenyans that if they borrow the hustlers fund, they will be jailed? Number two, is the member in order to mislead the Kenyans that Mama Mboga, there in the village, should be having a bank account for him to access hustlers fund? That's not the case. For you to access hustlers fund, you need a telephone number and an ID number. That's my point of order.
Well, it is very, he made it very humorous. His debate was very humorous, but I want to say this. The Honorable Mulungi is in order to debate this motion the way he feels like, because I believe from the way he's debating, he must have read the motion. Honorable members, let us do this. Let us be patient. We give each side of the divide enough time to debate. But if you have a point of order, I'll for sure give you. But what I'll say about your point of order, Honorable Member, is that he is in order. You may proceed. Honorable Junet, who do you want to inform? Honorable Mulungi, do you want to be informed by the Honorable Junet Mohammed?
Yes. Madam Chair, I want to inform Honorable Gideon Mulungi, former PS and architect, a very learned man in this country, that who has served this country in a very high capacities, that the law is very clear. If this House passes a law and the law gets enforced, and that law is applied, and which means if you borrow a loan and you don't pay it back and you default, you will be jailed. That's all. We want to tell hustlers that if you default paying this hustler loan, you will be jailed, period.
Honorable members, for the purpose of making progress, I will ask the Honorable Mulungi to proceed with the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Your time is almost up, but please proceed.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Yeah, I want to inform my colleague, Honorable Meruka, who's my friend, that where I come from, Mama Mbogas don't have touch phones. So it will be very difficult for them even to use phones to apply this loan. Finally, Madam Speaker, what I expect Kenya Kwanza to be doing is to lower the cost of fuel, lower taxation, give these borders for free. That is what I expect. Build kiosks for Mama Bogas for free so that they can be seen to be supporting them. And therefore, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I oppose the regulations. Thank you.
Well, the Honorable Member for Molo, the Honorable Kimani.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I would like to say I support these public finance management regulations of 2022. And because, Madam Speaker, I love numbers, I'd like to inform, especially some of the colleagues that are really opposing this, a few numbers that will be critical to them. The interest rates on this Hustlers Fund is at 8% per annum. One of the honorable members referred to this as a government fuliza. And for the record, let me try to compare those two, so that the next time we tell him that he's out of order, we know factually that he's out of order. For you to access fuliza loan, there is a facilitation fee of 7.5%. Just to access that fund, you need to pay a facilitation fee of 7.5%. What you're offering is there's no facilitation fee, no fee at all, just an interest rate of 8% per annum, no facilitation fee at all. The honorable member who just contributed talked about hustlers that do not have smartphones. And let me inform him that this product is accessible through a regular cellular phone, those called USSD, like the way you check Safaricom airtime *144#. Those hustlers that do not have smartphones will still be able to access this fund through what we call USSD. Madam Speaker, I would like to inform this House that as per the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics report of October 2022, our rate of inflation is at 9.6%. So where the rate of inflation is 9.6%, and you are accessing funds to these hustlers as 8% per annum, lie to only stupid people that we are stealing from them. This is a fund that is cheap, the cheapest in the market, the most accessible.
The Honorable Junet, what is out of order?
No. Chair, is it in order for the honorable member, Honorable Korea, who is a distinguished accountant, that because CPA, because the inflation rate today is 9.6%, and the Hustler Fund will be at 8%. Who told him that the inflation rate must remain at 9.6%? Inflation rates will come down to 1%, my brother. That is when the cost of living will come down. That's when life will be cheap. Don't make it look good. 9.6 is almost double digit.
Well,
so, Madam Speaker, let him not mislead the country and Kenyans that inflation is at 9.6% and this 8%. No.
Honorable
Junet,
you made your point, and I was also listening, and the Honorable Kimani, you said lying to stupid people. That is unparliamentary. I would like you to withdraw, and then you proceed with the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I withdraw the word stupid. But I will not withdraw because it's a matter of fact that our rate of inflation is at 9.6%. And I'm debating why 8% is reasonable. So, Honorable Banti and Honorable Junet, you had your chance to explain, and we gave you a chance. So let me speak to hustlers. The other products that are available in the market, Madam Speaker, Tala and Branch are the most popular digital loans in this country. The interest rate of Tala is between 84 and 152% per annum. The rate of interest for Branch is between 156 and 348% per annum. And we're saying, because we care about the access to credit of that person at the bottom of the pyramid, who will not have access to circle borrowing like some of us, who has no security or collateral to take to the bank for the loans, we are giving you a solution. This solution will take you away from the yoke of Tala, the yoke of Branch, the yoke of Mshwari, and the yoke of all these other funds that, Mr. Speaker, continue to jeopardize the life and the safety and the health of these hustlers, Madam Speaker. To give you another example, border people now, Madam Speaker, are getting loans to buy motorcycles. But these sellers of motorcycles have been very shrewd in how they advance these loans, because they don't make it a fund. They tell you, come, pick a border from us and pay 300 shillings, Madam Speaker. And then you'll pay, and they'll urge you to pay and pay. But when you only have 1 or 2 installments left, they will come and take away that motorcycle, Madam Speaker. And that's what you're telling hustlers, that you have a chance to own that motorcycle without having the risk of you paying through the principal all these months, only for that motorcycle to be taken away when you have only 1 or 2 installments left, Madam Speaker. The credit ratings in this country, Madam Speaker, that has been used by the banks, if you default your loan once or twice, Madam Speaker, then you get to lose.
Honorable Jessica Mbalu, what is out of order, Honorable Jessica?
Honorable Speaker, I'm getting confused. When the members debate and say this is a hustlers fund, seriously, I've not seen anywhere written hustlers fund. Let us follow the motion. It is financial inclusion fund. Financial inclusion fund. Unless, Speaker, you have a different order paper.
Commonly referred to as. Honorable members, the Honorable Jessica has raised a valid matter. So please refer to the motion as stated. However, when members are debating, honorable members, they are allowed to make use of the language that resonates with their electorates. However, I would like to urge you, make reference to the order paper as it is. You may proceed, Honorable Kimani. You still have some time.
You know,
I'll give you a minute more because because of the disturbances.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We call it Financial Inclusion Fund. And for the sake of my debating this for the rest of my minutes, I would like to refer to it as, in my way my people understand, as a hustlers fund, Madam Speaker. I talked about the motorcycles. And I said, Madam Speaker, before I was interrupted, we have found businessmen that are now operating as financial institutions. And for them to escape the procedures that have been laid by this House in terms of regulations of opening a financial institutions, they are the ones lending directly these motorcycles to these border riders, Madam Speaker. And they will wait until you have 1 or 2 installments to pay, and they come and take away those motorcycles, Madam Speaker. And I have numerous of those cases. And these are the people, Madam Speaker, we want to save by start of this fund, Madam Speaker. A lot has been said about how much is enough. And they said 50,000 is nothing. 100,000 shillings is nothing. But let me tell you, honorable members, when I speak about the people that have elected me twice to this parliament, the great people of Molo, there's so many of them, that just having, accessing a loan of 10,000 shillings to go and buy potatoes in Kapsita, to go and buy potatoes in Mariashoni, and go and sell them in Molo Town at a profit. That is how they earn their income, Madam Speaker. And so what happens? Because they have no place to get these loan facilities, they rely on Shylocks that are usually present at the entrance of Molo Market, where they will give you the money. Here is 10,000 shillings, go buy those potatoes and come and sell. And people are repaying that 10,000 shillings with 1,000 shillings more. That is 10,000, that is 10% interest per day, Madam Speaker. And these are hardworking people, these are hardworking Molo people that want to earn their sweat, that want to have the dignity of work, not to have somebody follow them and just wait just when they're selling their wares. Then you have somebody who is there asking them to take their 10,000 shillings back at 10% interest, Madam Speaker. Most of members in this honorable house have access to cheap credit. Whether it is a bank overdrafts in our banks because we have payslips, whether it is our SACCO savings because we are able to save in a SACCO, or whether it is loans at the bank because we have securities to take to the banks, Madam Speaker. But how about we stopped our political differences and supported this bill, Madam Speaker? How about we don't just oppose it? How about if we enrich this motion, Madam Speaker? Because when we roll out this fund, it's not just going to be accessible and useful to Kenya Kwanza people, Madam Speaker. It's going to be accessible and in use to all members of this Republic of Kenya as per these regulations, Madam Speaker. So I urge this Honorable House, let us enrich this motion. If you, instead of just opposing it, bring an amendment. And if you convince us that that amendment that you're bringing here will make this fund more accessible, more convenient, cheaper, to the people of the Republic of Kenya, we will be happy to support you. And I'll be the first one to support this, Madam Speaker. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we are legislators. We could bring an amendment, whether it is an act of parliament or I'm just saying, let us have the fund accessible to Kenyans, and if you have something good to add, improve on this debate, Madam Speaker, not just opposing for the sake of opposing, Madam Speaker. Lastly, I would like to urge Kenyans, let us get into the culture of saving. Let us get to the culture of honoring our debt obligations. And this fund, Madam Speaker, in the regulations, have a way of scoring, credit scoring, so that the more you are able to pay, the more you honor your loan obligation, then the higher amounts you qualify, the more you save, the government is matching that savings on you, so that at least this country can also improve on savings, Madam Speaker. And with that, I support this motion on this financial inclusion fund. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable John Bundy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am aware that Kenyans are complaining about lack of access to credit facilities by micro, small, and medium enterprises. Actually, that is the category of the people we are targeting with financial inclusion. But as we say that, Madam Speaker, it is also true that as
you have a point? What is out of order, Honorable Millie Odhiambo?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I don't wish to interrupt my neighbor. But Madam Speaker, I think for people who know me, I rarely come to this house very early. Today I was actually here early. So I'm just concerned that I'm not actually seeing the Speaker noticing me. And I'm also a ranking member, Madam Speaker. So I'm not, I know Mbadi and I are political age mates. I'm not complaining about him, but I'm just concerned, even if you are putting into account gender issues, Madam Speaker. And the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes I understand that technology may be problematic. So I might actually be sitting here waiting for my turn when technology is a problem. I just wanted to assurance.
Honorable Millie Odhiambo, I had noticed that you are lifting your hand
yes.
up, and I requested someone to come to you because we could not see you anywhere on the screen. So you'll get your chance, Honorable Millie. You may proceed, Honorable.
Actually, Millie is a very senior,
Honorable Bandi.
Yes, Millie is a ranking member. Although standing orders, although we are age mates here, but I'm ranking member number 1 in this house after Dwale left, Madam Speaker. So I am still perfectly in order to go ahead of Millie. But, Madam Speaker, I said that, yes, access to credit facilities has been a challenge to micro, small, and medium enterprises in this country. But that cannot give government blank check to turn itself into Shylock. With these regulations, we are making the government of Kenya Shylock. The same Shylock that the Honorable MP for Molo was against is what the government of Kenya is going to do with our people. And I want to persuade honorable members that we must reject these regulations so that they are done afresh. Why do I say so? In moving this motion, Madam Speaker, the mover, the Honorable Chepkonga, tried to persuade us that the 8% is meant for administrative costs. Madam Speaker, that is not correct. I want to read the same regulations, number 25. It says that administrative costs of the fund shall be met through appropriations of the State Department responsible for matters relating to micro, small, and medium enterprises. Madam Speaker, what that says in simple terms is that this House will be appropriating money which will be used to administer this fund. Therefore, the question you want to ask is, why are our people, why are these poor Kenyans being charged 8% per annum? And by the way, Madam Speaker, let no one cheat Kenyans that 8% is such a small percentage. 8% per annum is such a high percentage. In some jurisdictions, that would be unheard of. It is only in Kenya where credit, accessibility to credit is difficult, where we have overborrowed money, where banks are charging obscene interest rates, where we think 8% is a low interest rate. If you borrow 50,000 shillings, you will be paying 4,000 shillings. That, if you divide, you will find that every day you are paying 11 shillings as interest only. And Madam Speaker, that is not small amount. In your mortgage loan, Madam Speaker, a member of parliament pays 3% per annum as interest rate. Public servants pay 3% as interest rate on mortgage. You are telling Kenyans that Mama Mboga out there, whom you have christened as a hustler, should pay 8% per annum. That is obscene interest rate that should not be allowed to pass in this House. Madam Speaker, where is the report of the actuaries who did tabulation and calculated and found out that 8% was the desirable interest
Honorable
rate?
Bandi, I have a point of order from the chair, the Honorable Chepkonga. What is out of order, Honorable Chepkonga?
I rise pursuant to Standing Order 81, Madam Speaker. Is it in order for the Honorable Badi to compare the parliamentary mortgage scheme in which people who are managing that scheme are employees of Parliamentary Service Commission, are not paid out of the interest that is charged to Honorable Badi's mortgage that is advanced to him? In fact, it is government which pays your salary for sitting in the mortgage committee. In fact, when I was a member, I was not being paid out of the mortgage. So the comparison of 3% is misleading. It is misleading. Secondly, the Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, I'm not debating, is it in order? Is it in order for the Honorable Badi to claim that the interest is so high when he knows as an accountant that the central bank has fixed the base at 8.75%. So the one of this fund, the ASLA fund, is lower by 0.75% from that which has been fixed by central bank, which is commercial rate, Madam Speaker.
You raised there are two matters that you raised. One was about the comparison. Honorable Bandi, the two are not comparable. I would like to say that the second point that you tried to make, you are debating on the motion, and I will not allow you to debate on the motion. So for that matter, I ask the Honorable Bandi to proceed with the debate.
And Madam Speaker, kindly guide the Honorable Chakoma. He keeps on quoting the wrong standing order. 81 does not talk to what you have always been talking about. Kindly read it. But Madam Speaker,
Honorable member, since this is a House of Record, I would like to read 81. And Honorable Chepkonga, while you are away, Chepkonga.
You know, he was farming for 5 years.
Now you will save my minutes, because now...
I will save your minutes,
please.
I assure you.
Educating.
The Honorable Chepkonga, Standing Order number 81 has nothing to do with the matter you raised. It is 83. The moment you confuse the two numbers, it means you have erred. For that reason, I give a chance to the Honorable Bandi to finalize your debate.
You know, Madam Speaker, and I would want the chair to listen to this. The administrative cost of this fund is not going to be met from the 8%, unless you have a different set of regulations. It is clear that the administrative costs of the fund shall be met through appropriations of the state department responsible for matters relating to micro, small, and medium enterprises. So it has nothing to do with the 8%. You have been misleading this House. So, Madam Speaker, the 8% is for what? And I still want to insist that this 8% is so high. You cannot compare the base lending rates with what we should charge the poor Kenyans out there. The reason why the base lending rate is where it is today is because of the overborrowing by the government. What the government should do, what Kenya Kwanza should do, and I thought that is what you promised us in rallies, is to maintain fiscal discipline, to help manage the monetary policy of the country, to lower the base lending rate even to 3%, 4% as it is in other jurisdictions, and then you can charge our hustlers 3-4%. In fact, Madam Speaker, there is nobody who has ever started business with loan and has succeeded. Loans are used to enhance businesses, expand businesses, make them more viable. But starting business with a loan is suicidal. The government should have thought of giving the hustlers, and I want to use this word very strongly because you used it during campaigns. The hustlers should be given grants to start their business. So start off. We support this establishment of fund, but not to extort our people. Fleece them. Make them more poor in the name of giving them capacity. The members of parliament here, let me warn you, the moment you allow this fund to be operational, your electorate will borrow it. They will come to you when now the government has come for the assets. We have seen it with women funds. People will be auctioned. 8%, and if you default, 9.5%. What kind of a government can operate like this? I thought we had serious economists advising this government. Madam Speaker, I am persuaded that the economists advising our president, advising our cabinet, should be fired as early as yesterday. In fact, they should be fired because they're misleading this guy. You cannot make, and with the kind of economy we are in, we are still struggling to come out of the COVID period. Madam Speaker, we are struggling to come out of the COVID period. Which business can even give you 5% profit?
I see the Honorable
You want to charge our people 8%?
The Honorable Ruku, as a point of information, but I would like to ask the Honorable Bandi, who do you want to inform? Honorable Ruku, please give him the mic. Yes, a point of order. Yes, so that is why I'm asking the Honorable Ruku. Honorable Ruku, who do you want to inform, Honorable Ruku?
Madam Speaker,
You said you have a point of information.
I think there is nobody who is...
Who do you want to inform, Honorable Ruku?
The people of Kenya, because you are being deceived by Honorable Bandi.
Honorable
Bandi is misinforming the people.
Unfortunately, you are out of order. You are out of order, Honorable Ruku. You are out of order. You cannot inform Kenyans when another member is in the middle of debate. Yeah, I know you are still learning the ropes, but you cannot do that. Yes, point of... What is out of order, Honorable Ruku?
Madam Speaker, it is not fair for Honorable Bandi to... I want to be truthful, because as you keep on saying that this is a house of records. Loans pricing and distribution.
What is out of order, Honorable Ruku?
I'm rising on point on, what's the name of this book?
Do you want to ask the Honorable Chepkonga which point of order?
Give me
You
this book.
cannot ask.
106, starting orders number 106 of irrelevant funds. That the point which Honorable Bandi is trying to make is totally irrelevant as far as the inclusion fund is concerned. And to that extent, he is misreading this House. Starting under number 106. Yeah? No. Yeah, irrelevance or repetition. Standing order number 106, Madam Speaker. I am aware about the standing order, even if I'm a new member of this House. Okay, irrelevance. Honorable Bandi, whatever is informing this House is completely irrelevant as far as the way the Asras Fund has been convinced and established under these regulations. And that is what I want to address, Madam Speaker, if you allow me.
Well, Honorable Ruku, you have actually done very well in terms of truthfulness. That 106, standing order 106 is about relevance. But, listen, the Honorable Bandi was relevant to the motion, Honorable members, so that we may make progress. I would like to allow the Honorable Bandi to proceed. What is out of order, Honorable Junet?
Madam Speaker, I really appreciate what Honorable Ruku has said. But you see, Madam Speaker, the standing order 106 is talking about relevance to the debate.
Honorable Junet. Honorable Junet.
Irrelevance to the debate.
Honorable Junet.
But Mr. Speaker, Madam
Unfortunately,
Speaker,
Honorable Junet, you cannot raise a point of order on another point of order. So you are out of order. Honorable Bandi, proceed.
Madam Speaker, I really don't know what was irrelevant in what I was saying. I was really struggling to hear what the member for Mbeere North was saying, but anyway, I failed to understand what he was saying. But anyway, I have said that this fund is going to be very costly to our people. Two, Madam Speaker, and what has really disturbed me, you are asking Kenyans that when you are borrowing money, 5% of what you are borrowing is automatically saved somewhere, and where they even don't know. You are not even telling us where this money is going to be saved. But that is not the point. I have never heard anywhere I go to the bank to borrow money to do business, and I'm told that I have to leave 5% of what I'm borrowing to be saved for me. I am borrowing to do business, for heaven's sake. Money borrowed, you cannot be forced to save money you have borrowed. I don't know anyone in this House who is a good financial manager who borrows money and saves. You can't borrow money and save. There is no money. Now, most of the savings in this country, Madam Speaker, and I'll give money market, which is one of the safest way of borrowing in this country. The interest rate at the moment is less than 9%. You are borrowing money which you are paying at 8%. Someone is going to save it for you in a government institution, most of which are run down and are not going to give you even 5% interest, yet you are paying 8% on that loan. Please allow Kenyans to use the money they are borrowed to do business. You can encourage them to invest or save the profit arising out of the business they have done. But you cannot force any Kenyan to borrow 50,000 and out of it, 2,500 is automatically deducted. That is why we are saying that this government is becoming a Shylock. This government is becoming Fuliza. It is Tala and Mshwari in a different name. These are the same, in fact, it has borrowed largely. This fund, Madam Speaker, has borrowed all the bad manners of these institutions we are talking about. If you borrow Fuliza, there is automatically an amount deducted, Madam Speaker. If you borrow Mshwari, it is the same. If you borrow from the government of Kenya under Kenya Kwanza, automatically a percentage is deducted. This is a Fuliza government. Whether you like it or not, this is a Fuliza government in a different name. And Kenyans did not expect this, Madam
Honorable
Speaker.
members, on the
Kenyans
screen,
were promised.
Honorable Bandi, order. I have a point of order by the Honorable Miruka Afa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I respect.
What is out of order, Honorable Miruka?
The point of order is this. Is the member in order to say that Asala's fund is equivalent to Fuliza? Fuliza, let me explain. Fuliza fund, they automatically deduct your amount in terms of interest. Asala's fund does not have interest. You are going to be deducted. The 8% is per annum, which in the regulation that we are debating now. I'm not sure whether the regulation has the 8%. We are discussing about the regulation of the fund to enable a common manager access this fund in a free manner that he is able to sustain his life. But is the member in order to equate Asala's fund and Fuliza fund?
Honorable Bandi, would you like to make an explanation to the House on that matter that has been raised?
Yeah, I will educate him, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Fuliza, when you borrow, I have not borrowed Fuliza myself, but from what I hear, 7.5% is automatically deducted. From this financial inclusion fund, if you borrow, 5% is deducted. Same characteristics. The only difference, 7.5%, 5%. This one, Madam Speaker, is charging 8% interest. In Fuliza, the percentage is higher, but you are still charged. Fuliza, again, you are going to receive it via the phone. So what is the difference between this money and Fuliza? Nothing. This is, in fact, I said before Majority Leader walked in, the moment your people borrows this money, they will fail to pay, they will come to you to help them pay. Madam Speaker, I want to just urge, this House. Madam Speaker, I want to urge this House.
He has only half a minute, but we have a point of order from the leader.
I want to urge this House.
Leader of Majority Party, what is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable John Badi has mentioned me and the people of Kikuyu, and you know the people of Kikuyu are very dear to me. And besides that, I was in the office, Honorable Speaker, listening to the contribution by Honorable John Badi that is laden with a lot of misleading information, Honorable Speaker. And I just walked back in because part of what the Honorable John Badi contends that the people of Kikuyu will not be unable to pay because they are being forced to pay. They are not being forced to save. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable John Badi is a seasoned accountant, and a very experienced one like myself, only that I qualified as an accountant before him.
The Honorable Bandi. Order, Honorable Bandi.
You know, when I was a student at the University of Nairobi, in 1996, Honorable Speaker, is when I qualified as an accountant. The Honorable John Badi was a junior accountant at the students' welfare place there, next to Hall 9. As a junior officer, and he was not qualified. He was only qualified later. Honorable Speaker, more importantly, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable John Badi, as an accountant, knows that you will not today walk into a bank without any banking history and be afforded the opportunity to access credit. It is that informs, Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the shouting by the Honorable Millie Odhiambo. And she gets accustomed to listening to when serious legislators like myself and Honorable John Badi are engaging on serious issues, then she may have the temperament to just listen. Because you borrow based on your credit history, Honorable Speaker, in the banking sector. It is that this fund is seeking to achieve, Honorable Speaker, because when the bank asks you for your 6 months bank statements to be able to evaluate whether you can borrow money from them, it's because you have built some history. It is that the fund seeks to do by ensuring that people also are saving within the fund. And I heard the Honorable John Badi say that you are saving in amorphous government institutions.
If you are a member of a SACCO, your savings go into your SACCO. The savings that you save, Honorable Speaker, will also is your money. You are not saving and that money going to government. Tomorrow you will not need to borrow. You just need to access your savings once you have repaid your loan. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I just want to correct the misinformation because the Honorable John Buddy is an accountant. Accountants will deal with facts and figures. And he knows his facts, but he wants to play politics. And Honorable Speaker, I'm sure it's good to play the politics, but it's also unfair to misinform the people of Kenya and allude to the fact that people are being forced to do this, people will be unable to pay, and I just want to inform him that the people of Kikuyu are yearning for this fund, and they will pay the loans they access.
You've made your point that you are indicating that the Honorable Bandi has only 1 minute. I am finding it very difficult, Honorable Junet, to give you a point of order on top of another point of order. I'll follow the rules of this House, that I cannot have a point of order on another point of order, Honorable Junet. You have a point of information. So who do you want to inform, Honorable Junet? You have 1 minute to do so.
No, Sasa. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to inform Honorable Mbadi that what the majority leader is doing in the floor of the House is very wrong. You stand on a point of order, then you start debating. We are not, this is not, we are under the standing orders. We are not under the orders of Ishungo, Madam Speaker, in this House. This is the 4th time he's doing this. This is the 3rd time he's doing in my presence, Madam Speaker, that he raises on a point of order, then he starts debating. Madam Speaker, the majority leader is not above the standing orders. The majority leader must operate within the standing orders. And he knows very well that the people of Kikuyu constituency have been conned through Hustler Fund. Thank you very much.
Honorable Bandi, you have 1 minute to finish your debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I conclude, and you know, majority leader is even misleading this House that I'm Miss Junior. You know, in professions, you become a junior of someone depending on when you are registered. And Madam Speaker, if we brought our registration, the time we were registered, even his registration number is my junior with so many years. And I will tell you, I did CPA in a record 2 years. You struggled for 3-4 years. So, Madam Speaker, let me just wind up. That, to be honest, let us reject these regulations. Even look, Madam Speaker, on Regulation 21, where it gives the financial intermediaries powers. They may match the funds or may not. We should be clear that if you are accessing this fund as a financial intermediary, you must match the funds. Shall match the funds, not may. May is giving leeway to these intermediaries to get access to this fund, do business with it without matching. So the committee did a shoddy job. We must return this regulation. We need this fund. By the way, we must have this fund. But the regulations as they are must be rejected by this House and redone by the government.
The Honorable Naomi Wako, member for Marsabit. She has just stepped out. Honorable members, I really wanted a voice of a female member of parliament because I realized that we had not had any from a female member of parliament. Honorable members, on this side, I cannot see any, so I am going to give a chance to the Honorable Julius Ruto, member for Keses.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I rise on support of this motion of...
The honorable members who are shouting Mishra, Honorable Mishra, you are out of order.
Thank you. Thank you for protecting me, Madam Speaker. For record purpose, I'm Honorable Julius Ruto, a CPA, but I'm junior than them, so please. Yes, it's good to hone. Than them, but of course I'm senior than others here. So thank you so much. I rise to support this motion on the establishment of proper regulations to support or to regularize the establishment of the inclusive fund, otherwise known as the Hustler Fund. This has come into force or into action being informed by the situation that Kenyans are going through. We are privileged to be in a country where Kenyans are working, people who are not lazy, people who are desirous to make their livelihoods, and cognizant of the challenges, of economic challenges we are facing at the moment. If you go down there to where our small traders, the SMEs and the MSMEs are in, day out, the aspect and the behavior of borrowing is existing. And in any case, there is a behavior that has been established where there are some lenders who are sitting by the side of the market in the morning to lend to these mamambogas, and in the evening, they are being paid back at an interest rate of 10% per day. The 8%, which is bringing us an issue here, and I want to agree with all of us that establishment of a fund, for it to be sustainable, it requires the repayment together with the cost factor in it to cushion the decrease, to cushion the users or the administrator from utilizing the capital aspect in it, so that in the long run we deplete the fund. But this thing should be able to grow it with time. I'm sure as much as the government of the day, I'm sure as much as this house would appropriate funds to this fund. Thank you so much, thank you. As much as would be desirous to keep appropriating funds to this particular fund, but it reach a time that there will be other goals or other priorities that will need to be looked at. And for the purpose of this fund to grow and to be stable, we have to ensure that the borrowers of these funds should be able to bring it back, including accrued in what they brought, because at the end of the day, these funds are borrowed to be able to grow the business, to be able to advance the business, to be able to increase the profit. And part of that profit, 8% annually, if you're able to appropriate per day, like what happens in that sector of the small-scale businesses, because their borrowing is practiced not in annual, but in a daily basis, majorly or largely in a week basis. So the 8%, if you appropriate, it will come down to a small decimal percentage that is uncomparable to the 10% they pay daily. So I want to encourage the honorable members that let us look at this particular fund beyond our political persuasion. But let us look at, because it's going to affect all Kenyans. These Kenyans called the hustlers, these Kenyans called the sufferers, these Kenyans called the bottom, are all over the country, all over the 47 counties of Kenya. So let us support them by ensuring that government is taking a lead in recognizing that the challenges they are going through, in recognizing the need that is required, in recognizing the spirit fight that these Kenyans are demonstrating, that they are willing to create an employment to support themselves, because the current market cannot adopt or cannot absorb the current rate of employable Kenyans who are ready to be employed and cannot be absorbed. So at this house, honorable house, I want to say, let us approve this particular regulations, and there is nothing that can stop whenever we are going to realize there are some challenges that will come therein. There is nothing that can stop this house to relook at it and improve and further it. But for now, let us approve these particular regulations and ensure this fund is put into operation. Let us look at this mamamboga. Let us look at this young man, this boy, when he meets you and asks you to support with the daily payings of these particular motorcycles or border. They go take it on a loan, and they are paying on a daily basis. Some of them pay to the tune of 400. By virtue of us ensuring that we are paying this particular fund.
I have a point of order by the Honorable Julius Meli, member for Tinderet. What is out of order?
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on point order number 95, noting the mood of the House and the ventilation and the debate on. I would wish that the mover be called to reply. Yes. Yes.
The mover be called to reply.
To reply, yes.
Well, I assent to that, but I would like to hear the voice of after the Honorable Member for Keses has finalized. Then I'll give a chance to the Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Then we can call upon the mover to. But is that the mood of the House? The Honorable Member for Keses, please finish your debate.
Thank you. Let me finalize my submission, Madam Speaker, that indeed let us rise to occasion. This is a calling by Kenyans, the low Kenyans who are suffering, who are living below $1, that they are saying, please remember us where we are. And that is why the fund inclusivity name came in. Let us include them, let us accommodate them, let us give them an opportunity, let us support their daily toils, let us give them a space for them to realize the energies, the same way we are here earning our livelihoods. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and I stand to support that these regulations ought to be passed by this Honorable House. Thank you.
Very well, Member for Cases. The Honorable Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes.
Member for Suba North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me first of all say that I want to thank the Parliament of Kenya for sending members of Parliament for the sports. May the Parliament send them every 3 months, because Parliament has become very exciting today. Even when we are waiting for long, it's okay because we are few and it's very exciting. So may Parliament form the habit of sending more members for sports every 3 months. But having said that, Madam Speaker, I just want to say that I am the naysayer that Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah was referring to, unapologetically. And Madam Speaker, I want to say that I do not support the Financial Inclusion Fund as regulations, as currently crafted. We do know for sure that we need to include majority of Kenyans, and I don't like using the word, what is it again, hustler? I don't want to use it because it's a very abused word. I'm a person that most of my life I've worked on the issue of inclusion, and I think this is a fund that is being used to abuse that category of persons. Madam Speaker, the reason why I want to say, and I want to reiterate what other members have said, is that this is actually fuliza by another word, and it will end up harming majority of the women and youth in this country. Madam Speaker, if you are saying that you are giving 500 Kenya shillings, and out of these 500 Kenya shillings, there's an amount that is automatically removed, and then you have 8% again removed, what the hell are you remaining with, Madam Speaker? Even this money is not even enough to purchase the phone that it should be receiving this money. Even if you are talking about Mulika Mwizi, you cannot even buy that phone to even receive this money. So this is actually, if you ask me, a cash cow that some people are trying to use to steal money from Kenyans. Madam Speaker, I don't understand why what we had started in the last parliament, we couldn't have continued with it, which is consolidating all the government funds, including the WESO fund, and reforming them so that it better serves Kenyans. And I want to agree with Honorable Mbadi that what we need is a grant for this category of persons. And we all have them in our constituencies. People that very small amounts of money will actually make a difference to. And the member for Molo was talking of 10,000. I come from a constituency where even 2,000 or 1,000 will make a difference. But it can't make a difference where you are giving and with the right hand and taking away with the left hand, because this is actually what this fund is doing. During the campaigns, I heard Honorable Ichung'wah used to tell people that it will be interest-free. Today, I am actually hearing him changing and saying that now it will be charged 8%. Madam Speaker, I'd also just want to indicate that there is also a constitutional issue that you cannot force Kenyans to save. Madam Speaker, people save voluntarily. In fact, I was speaking with one of the members here, and he was saying informally, I don't want to mention who, that he said Kenyans can only save involuntarily, yet he's a supporter of this fund. How can you force people to save? That is unconstitutional. You can't force people to save. If you want to give people money, give them money without forcing them to save. And when you are taking little money from people here and there, 500 shillings here and there, how sure, where will these people have the energy, the time, the resources to chase their 150 shillings that has been saved? The money they will use in terms of the credit that they will be used, that's too much money. Madam Speaker, in concluding, I want to say this, and I want to quote one of the members that I saw online, which is to raise an issue of cohesiveness in terms of government policy. And I want to quote somebody called Sankei Saitoti, who said today, there is something with this KK government, actually trying to come up with regulations and all. Can this government first have cohesion in terms of its own policy and in terms of the work of the CSS? You can't just have people jumping up like popcorns, the CS minister talking about the CS for labor talking about sports, the one for sports. Very soon we'll be hearing another CS that is not in charge of this fund talking to us about this fund and saying their own things. So I want to encourage Ichung'wah, and I want to tell you that I'm glad to learn that Honorable Mbadi is your senior. And I'm also the senior of your member of parliament who is moving this regulation. In law, because I'm seeing the CPS are proud today telling us you are accountants. I'm also a lawyer and I'm senior to your lawyer. Thank you, and with those few remarks, I oppose.
Honorable members, the Honorable Melly, member for Tinderet, rose on a point of order number 95, asking for the mover to be called to reply. And honorable members, I would like to establish whether that is the mood of the House. So I therefore put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the other opinion say nay? No. The ayes have it. So the Honorable Chepkonga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank members. I'd like to donate some 6 minutes of my time to 3 people. No, it's allowed. When the movement is called, it's allowed. It's allowed.
So the Honorable Chepkonga.
Yes.
With all due respect, the decision, the House has made a decision that that you, the mover, be called to reply. So the only opportunity you have is now to reply.
Thank you very much.
If the debate had gone up to the end, then you would have had 10 minutes and you would donate. So for now, you reply.
Thank you very much. I will speak,
honorable members.
I will speak on behalf of Honorable Kamket, Honorable Melly, and Honorable Shako, who are willing to speak to this motion in a very positive way, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank every member that has contributed in one way or the other, including those who have been in opposition. It was intended to enrich. In fact, it is not opposition, Madam Speaker. In fact, what I took from Honorable Badi was a critique of the regulations, and which we have taken it in good strides. We will consider them. Those which we think it is good, it will be anchored in the regulations. We will prepare a corrigendum. The committee listens, and I would like to assure this House that this committee is up to the task. We met the 2 cabinet secretaries who are represented by the PS Muya, and the cabinet secretary himself, Chelugui, was in attendance. And I would like to assure you, Madam Speaker, that we did justice to these regulations. We had very eminent people. We had Honorable Mbui, who was there. We had Honorable Tindi Mwale. We had Honorable Okelo, who are former members of this committee when the Honorable Kamket was chairing. And so we had valuable experience from those members who were carried over from the previous parliament. And they were very valuable assistance in coming up with these regulations. What I would like to assure members is, in fact, when you look at these regulations, the intention is to build creditworthiness of borrowers. We want to get to a situation where people borrow without giving any collateral, but based on your honest in repaying the loans that has been extended to you. These monies that are going to be put into this fund, Madam Speaker, these are monies out of our taxes. Honorable Mbadi, when he spoke, very eloquently, Madam Speaker, he spoke on the question of giving money to hustlers. And you must weigh this together with fiscal discipline, which ensures that government uses the monies that it collects in a manner that gives what we call return on investment and promotes good economic policies. And so this is what these regulations are intended to achieve. And Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank every member that has contributed, and we will take that into account, but I'm pleading with the members that we pass this regulation. It is important so that the hustlers benefit in all the constituencies that are represented here. And with those many and few remarks, I beg to reply.
Very well spoken, the Honorable Chepkonga. Honorable members, question to be put on this motion will be done in the next sitting. Next order. Next order.
Order number 13, the county government's additional allocations number 2 bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022, second reading.
Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I rise to move the motion, the bill on the county government's additional allocations, number 2 bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022. Madam Speaker, the county government's additional allocation bill number 2 of 2022 provides the legal basis for the transfer of additional allocation from the national government's share of revenue as per the Division of Revenue Act, as well as external loans and grants from development partners to the county governments, especially for the year 2022-2023 financial year. Honorable Speaker, the bill is in line with Article 190 of the Constitution that provides that Parliament may legislate for additional support to county governments and consistent with Article 202C, which provides for the transfer of additional allocations from the national government's share of revenue to the devolved units that are the counties, the 47 counties. Honorable Speaker, as you may remember, the annual Division of Revenue Bill was originally used to allocate additional funds to county governments. However, the High Court ruling number 252 of 2016 supposed that the Division of Revenue Act should not be used to distribute conditional and non-conditional grants and funds to counties, since it violates the institutional and functional integrity of both levels of government. Honorable Speaker, it is also important to remember that the County Government Additional Allocation Act of 2022 was previously passed by this House on April 29th of 2022, and it outlined the process for allocating additional funds for the year 2021-2022 fiscal year. On the other hand, the bill, which will be regarded as having entered into force on July 1st of 2022, this year, provides for the release of additional funds or allocation with regards to 2022-2023 fiscal year. Honorable Speaker, the bill proposes that the county government allocation will be transferred to the respective county revenue fund in accordance with a payment schedule published in a gazette notice by the CS or the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Treasury. Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the additional allocations are usually included in the budget estimates of the national government and submitted to Parliament for approval. This is, however, subject to the national government and the respective county governments having entered into intergovernmental agreement, and in case of a loan or grant by a development partner, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Treasury has a responsibility and also responsible for the development partner having agreed in writing that the funds shall be transferred to the county government. Madam Speaker, I don't want to belabor much because I'm sure members have perused our report. I only want to go to specific areas, Madam Speaker, for members to note so that even as we input on the suggestions we have given as a committee, we can be well aligned in terms of information. I want to touch on a few issues, Madam Speaker, that are contained in the report and also the bill from the Senate for the ease of internalization of members and also in terms of debate. Number one, some of the observations that we made as a committee, many of the grants, both conditional and non-conditional, from several development partners, Madam Speaker, have only defined around 2 counties as areas that may need to be assisted through or that are ravaged by drought, Madam Speaker, that is Marsabit and Turkana. We noted as the committee that going forward, we may need to be a bit more realistic by incorporating the many counties, Madam Speaker, that need assistance, and especially the counties that are in ASAL areas and other areas that are currently being hit by drought, Madam Speaker, and also others that have a probability, Madam Speaker, to be in through that kind of a menace. Number two, Madam Speaker, that we noted is that the bill that has come from Senate, and we have noted the same in our report, Madam Speaker, is that it is also a subject of what the government has been doing, Madam Speaker, in regards to reducing the deficit, the fiscal deficit, to around 5.8%. And therefore, Madam Speaker, some of the conditional grants coming from GOK were also subject of standardization, Madam Speaker, as we try to save around 300 billion Kenya shillings that initially was earmarked to be borrowed, and especially locally, domestically. Madam Speaker, also, we note that there are some counties that have been earmarked to be assisted through a conditional grant by the GOK in regards to building headquarters. And this was affecting 5 counties that had no headquarter, Madam Speaker. They were inheriting from the previous system. Madam Speaker, as you note, majority of the counties, Madam Speaker, got the premises previously used by the DCs to be their headquarters. However, 5 counties never had any premise or never had any headquarter. And Madam Speaker, of the 5, only 4 have been considered for funding, Madam Speaker, through the bill that came from Senate. Maybe going forward, we may need to standardize that, because especially the county that was left out, that is the Rakanithi, has done very well, Madam Speaker, in terms of the construction of their headquarter, and we need to support them because their headquarters currently is around 90% complete, and we need to support them so that they can get value for money in regards to that building and construction of the headquarter. Madam Speaker, lastly, there is a very murky area that I also want to draw members to check on very keenly, the issue of the leased equipment, medical equipment, Madam Speaker. However, that we never amended anything in this particular bill from Senate. Going forward, Madam Speaker, we may need to do a lot of public participation around the leasing of those medical equipment, Madam Speaker, to get the views of the users, to get the views of the governors, so that we expend money, which is to a tune of over 5 billion per year, Madam Speaker, on issues that are not murky and that are not shrouded by any darkness or clouds. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is that we have noted also there are some grants, and especially from our development partners, that needs our counties to upgrade their towns into municipalities so that they are able to gain from these grants, Madam Speaker. We have given recommendation, and I am sure members will interact with that report so that even as we move the debate forward, Madam Speaker, it will be informed based on the issues that I just raised. Madam Speaker, I move and I request the Honorable Danson Mwashako to second.
Honorable Mwashako. Honorable Dan Mwashako.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, my chair. First, Honorable Chair, I want to second the additional allocation number 2 bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022. Madam Speaker, indeed this is an important bill that is long overdue, and I must say that it's important that we fast track this bill because it is we are in the middle of the financial year, and until now we don't have a framework to disburse the resources that have already been appropriated, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I say this, these monies that initially we used to allocate through the Division of Revenue bill, but now, Mheshimiwa Speaker, we have an opportunity to interrogate these numbers as grants and additional allocation to counties for services that either will be done by national government or will be done by county government. we have an opportunity to look at the value of these finances, because Madam Speaker, we know the challenges our counties have. We have quite many challenges. Madam Speaker, I don't want to take much time, but I want to mention and talk about the leasing of medical equipment project, which its implementation under this framework, it is going to be implemented under this framework, Madam Speaker. The conceptualization of the project was extremely noble. However, it has been, there are many challenges in its implementation, and therefore, Madam Speaker, because now that we have an opportunity through this bill, going forward, we have an opportunity to address all the issues that have bedeviled this program, Madam Speaker. And with these short remarks, I second.
Very well, Member for Undanyi. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the county government's additional allocations number 2 bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022 be now read a second time. Well, the Honorable Junet Mohammed.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I stand to support the bill. But Madam Speaker, it is a noble cause to send money to the counties, especially at this time when they are being ravaged by drought and other things. But Madam Speaker, it's also very painful, extremely painful to find that these monies will go to the counties and still be eaten by people who are working in counties. Madam Speaker, if this money does not go straight to the affected people, people who are suffering from hunger, people who are being ravaged by drought, Madam Speaker, the curse of God will befall on these counties, Madam Speaker, because it will be immoral, Madam Speaker, for the counties to end up using this money in a corrupt manner. Lastly, Madam Speaker, the first thing I expected from Kenya Kwanza was the cancellation of the mess, the medical equipment services. I'm wondering why it has taken too long. Honorable Ishungwa, tell us. I thought that was the first executive order number 1, that matter was illegal, immoral, unacceptable. So I'm wondering why it is still existing in our books. That thing should be cancelled once and for all and taken back to the counties to buy the equipment. Madam Speaker, health is a devolved function. You cannot buy equipment for them here in Afya House. That mess, the name itself is a mess. That mess must be cancelled. Tell Jungo I've sent you to the president. I want him to cancel this.
Point of order. Point of order by the Honorable Chepkonga. What is out of order, Honorable Chepkonga?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 95. The Honorable Junet accepted the last point, but he spoke very well. It was the others were relevant. It is this other last one he was talking about. This, we are not, the paper is not here yet. I think it's coming next week. So would I be in order, Madam Speaker, looking at the mood of the House, including Honorable Junet, has spoken very well. In fact, he says this money should be released fairly quickly. Would I be in order, Madam Speaker, that I request you to call the mover to reply? Thank you.
I will give a minute to the majority, to the leader of majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker,
First.
and I rise to support this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. And members will appreciate that these additional funds, Honorable Speaker, are going to the counties. And I know we all have concerns as to how and where these monies will be applied to. Out of this money, Honorable Speaker, the conditional grants coming from the government of Kenya is about 5 billion shillings, almost 5.3 billion, and another 17 billion shillings. That is money coming from our donor partners, Honorable Speaker. And it's very important, Honorable Speaker, that we pass this bill for us to be able to access, especially this donor money that is mostly in the fields of water and healthcare. But I want to associate myself, Honorable Speaker, with the sentiments of Honorable Junet in terms of the mess that is in the MES. And I'm rather surprised that indeed freedom has come, that the Honorable Junet today can be speaking about the end of the MES mess, Honorable Speaker, well, as you know, he was a chief advocate of this mess in the last regime. And I want to encourage, Honorable Speaker, governors who have theaters, who have dialysis units that are still dysfunctional, and money is being paid out of government coffers to pay for these managed equipment systems that are not being utilized, Honorable Speaker, that they must have some sense of responsibility to the people of Kenya, because it is money that is being paid to entrepreneurs. And we know who these entrepreneurs are, Madam Speaker. These are entrepreneurs who captured
the Ministry of Health in the last regime. And they're only able to capture the Ministry of Health in the last regime because they were well aligned to those who were in power, Honorable Speaker. And I want to encourage our governors to ensure that for every coin they pay under MES, we are getting value for it. Honorable Speaker, with that, I support this bill, and I do want to urge that we support this bill, at least to allow our county governments to access most of the donor money and part of what they have not been able to access from the government of Kenya in terms of conditional grants. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, the Honorable Chepkonga rose on a point of order, number 95, asking that the mover be called upon to reply. And I would like to establish whether this is the mood of the House. So, honorable members, I put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. Will as many as of this opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. So I call upon the chair to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank all members for their valuable contributions to this particular bill. Madam Speaker, I associate myself with all the sentiments, and especially on the medical equipment managed services. I think MES was actually messy, Madam Speaker. We need to relook at it. We need to relook at the beneficiaries who took advantage of the Kenyan people and our health sector. And Madam Speaker, I am sure going forward, even as we allocate money for the financial year that is we are going, Madam Speaker, we'll be able to interrogate that matter much more deeply. Madam Speaker, I thank all the committee members. I thank all the members of Parliament for their very precise comments, and I beg to reply.
So, honorable members, the question to be put on this motion will happen in the next sitting. Honorable members, and the time now being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 30th November 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
The National Assembly, this being the morning session of the 6th of April, the year is 2022. We are so glad you're watching. This broadcast has been made possible through the collaboration between the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. My name is Gladys Mungai, and now let's have a look at the highlights in the order of business this morning. Parliament will debate the Information Communication Technology Practitioners Bill, this being a bill by nominated MP Godfrey Osotsi, Bill number 38 of the year 2020. And after completion of the allocated time for debate, which is usually 3 hours, members will proceed to vote on that particular bill. Another bill that members will be putting their input on and putting a question and are taking a vote on the bill is the Insurance Professionals Registration Bill, this being a bill from the National Assembly, Bill number 25 of the year 2020. And this particular bill is by Honorable Benjamin Washiali. Two bills are set to be tabled for the first time before the floor. These are the Public Audit Bill, a bill by Mohammed Sheikh, Bill number 59 of the year 2020, and the bill by Mohammed Sheikh seeks to amend the Public Audit Act 215 to provide for the process of recruitment of Auditor General 6 months prior to the expiration of the term of the serving Auditor General. The bill by Professor Mohammed Sheikh Mohamud does not affect the functions of the county governments and is therefore not a bill concerning county governments, and this is for purposes of standing orders. And this is also not a money bill for the purposes of Article 114 of the Constitution, as the enactment of the bill will occasion additional expenditure of the public funds. Another bill set to be tabled before the floor this morning is the Child Justice Bill by Honorable Millie Mabona Odhiambo, and the bill by Honorable Millie Odhiambo seeks to provide for the establishment of the child justice courts and to provide the procedure to be applied when prosecuting children accused of or charged with a criminal offense. The bill provides the procedure contemplated in the Constitution of Kenya and international conventions ratified by the Kenya, and this is in regard to the Convention of the Rights of the Child and the African Charter on the Rights and the Welfare of the Children. The bill contains provisions on the proceedings in the child justice courts and the admission of certain evidence, and additionally the part that deals with the establishment of the criminal culpability. The House, under the Committee of the Whole, will consider the Community Health Workers Bill, this being a bill by Honorable Martin Owino, Bill number 30 of the year 2020. Another bill set for consideration before the Committee of the Whole is the Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Bill, this being a bill by Honorable Member for Belgut, Honorable Nelson Koech, Bill number 41 of the year 2020. A bill by Honorable Member for Nakuru Town East, Honorable David Gikaria, the National Construction Authority Amendment Bill, Bill number 45 of the year 2020, is also another bill that members of Parliament will be considering this morning. And so is the Children Amendment Bill, a bill by Honorable Member for Homa Bay Town, Honorable Peter Kaluma, this being a bill number 46 of the year 2020. The House is also set to consider the Public Procurement and Asset Amendment Bill, Bill number 49 of the year 2020 by Honorable Gathiru Mwangi. The bill is currently at the second stage, and so members will be seeking to make their input on that particular bill. The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Cheboy, is in the chamber. He is the Speaker presiding over the business this morning. I now hand over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing. Good morning.
Wabunge, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na wabunge, kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu. Twakusihi tutazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe na ili kustawisha amani, fanisi na heri ya nchi hii yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mkononi mwetu. Amen. Honorable members, we do not have quorum at all. It's actually one of the lowest turnouts in a long time. So I order the bell to be rung for 10 minutes and request the whips to really work very hard. This is How are you?
You begin by naming those who are here.
The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Chiboy, has just ordered that the quorum bell be rung, and this is in line with the standing orders of the House, Standing Order number 34, subsection 2, on the quorum or the numbers in the House. As it stands this morning, the House lacks the requisite numbers to commence business this morning. And so, in the next 10 minutes, members have the opportunity to make their way into the chamber. He has also directed that the Chief Whip also does the whipping of members to allow more members access the chamber this morning. A look at the highlights in the order of business this morning. After the consideration of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, this being Bill number 49 of the year 2020 by Honorable Gathuri Mwangi, the House will then consider the Pharmacy and Poisons Amendment Bill, Bill number 1 of the year 2020. And this particular bill is by Honorable Member for Nandi Hills, Honorable Alfred Keter. The Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Amendment Bill, Bill number 11 of the year 2021, a bill by Garissa Township Member of Parliament, Honorable Eden Duale, is also another bill that the House is set to consider this morning. The Public Service Internship Bill, Bill number 25 of the year 2021 by Honorable Naisula Lesuda, is also another bill that the House is set to make input on this morning. The National Government Constituencies Development Fund, a bill by a member for Butere, Honorable Tindi Mwale, is also a bill that has been lined up for debate this morning, and this happens to be Bill number 34 of the year 2021. The House is also set to consider the Penal Code Amendment Bill, Bill number 40 of the year 2021 by Honorable Nimrod Mbai. Bill number 2 on the Penal Code Amendment Bill by David Gikaria, Honorable Member for Nakuru Town East, is also another bill set for consideration before the House this morning. Honorable Irene Kasalu's bill on the whistleblowers protection, this being Bill number 50 of the year 2021, is a bill that has been lined up for debate. And so is the Sexual Offences Amendment Bill by Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba and the Alcoholics Control Bill. members of parliament continue making their way into the chamber this morning, and this is to allow for the House to at least raise the requisite number. As it stands and in line with the directives on matters COVID-19, at least 50 members of parliament are required at any particular time the House is sitting. And so the quorum bell is ringing, and members of parliament continue streaming into the chamber to raise that number to 50 to allow the House commence business this morning. The Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Amendment Bill, Bill number 34 of the year 2020, by Honorable Richard Tongi, is also another bill featuring in the order paper this morning. The Birth and Matters Death Registration Amendment Bill, Bill number 32 of the year 2020, by Gilgil Member of Parliament, Honorable Martha Wangari, is also another bill that members of Parliament are set to debate this morning. The Institution of Social Work Professionals Bill by Honorable Joshua Kimilu, this being a bill from the National Assembly, Bill number 31 of the year 2020, is a bill that members will consider this morning. And so is the Matters Higher Education Loans Board Amendment Bill, a bill by nominated MP Gideon Keter, this being a bill number 29 of the year 2020, and after the consideration of that particular bill, proposals in that particular bill, the Health Amendment Bill, a bill by Kandara, Member of Parliament Alice Wahome, is a bill lined up for debate before the floor this morning, and this happens to be bill number 28 of the year 2020. According to Standing Orders number 34 subsection 2 on the quorum of the House, if there is no quorum present when the chair is taken at the time appointed for the meeting of the House, immediately after saying the prayer, the Speaker directs the quorum bell to be rung for 10 minutes, and if no quorum is present at the expiration of the 10 minutes, the Speaker may direct that the bell be rung for a further 5 minutes. According to the Standing Order 34 subsection 2, if there is still no quorum present, the Speaker shall adjourn the House forthwith until the next sitting. Business of the House is yet to kick off this morning, and this is owing to the fact that the House is yet to raise the requisite quorum to proceed with its business this morning. And the current time allocated is 10 minutes to allow for more members access the chamber, and the sergeant at arms are just at the entrance of the chambers to keep tabs with the members accessing the chamber and to determine if indeed that particular number will be achieved this morning. At the expiry of the initial 10 minutes, as had been directed by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Cheboi, if at least 50 members will not be in the House this morning, then a further 5 minutes will be added to allow for more members to get to the chamber. And in the event, at the expiration of the 5 minutes, the House will not have reached the 50 members, then the Speaker will have no option other than adjourning the House until in the afternoon when the House is set to sit again today. So we are waiting to see if the National Assembly is going to raise that particular number. The Children Justice Bill, a bill by Honorable Millie Odhiambo, further deals with the purpose of diversion, of the conditions for diversion. And the part also contains the provision on the